Okay, we should be all set when the board is good to go. I'm just checking the caption.
Okay, just let us know.
Sometimes they show and other times they don't.
Should we come on an airplane?
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want the aisle or the window seat?
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a dinosaur barbecue.
Yeah, a little bit, I know. We're working on it.
The place looks great,
And
Well,
it's in one piece, pretty much.
thankfully.
Okay, we're good?
you are good. It is 6:30 on the dot.
Okay, motion to open the meeting. Is there a second?
Second. Somebody say second.
That's fine. No, Lily can have it. It's
She's
fine.
giving you the second. Nope,
Thank
you got the second.
All right, now I got to cross off Renee, right? This is how trouble starts. All right, trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Hi.
Motion passes.
Okay, does anybody have anything to disclose this evening or a conflict of interest regarding the agenda items?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not.
I do not. Okay, and with that being said, would the clerk read the open meeting compliance certification, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, everybody take a nice break.
Yep.
Okay, the public will have opportunities to comment on specific agenda items when they occur in the meeting and also on general matters at the end of the meeting. Speakers can comment once in each comment window. If it is on a specific agenda item, it is not a debate, a deposition, or a panel discussion. Speakers must step to the front of the room if physically able. Alternatively, they may provide comments from where they are seated. If an attendee is participating via web conference technology such as Zoom, the clerk will announce how attendees should signal that they wish to comment. This may differ by platform, but is typically accomplished through the raise hand feature, which we are using Zoom, so if you do wish to comment, please raise your hand. If you don't wish to comment yourself and want me to ask the question, put it in the Q&A. I don't check the chat, so everybody's for one. Please give your name and address, even on the Q&A. Thank you. Speakers must give their name, address, and organization. There shall be an exemption for any category of people protected by New York State law. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes on any given topic. Speakers may not yield any remaining time they may have to another speaker. Board members may, with the permission of the mayor, only interrupt a speaker during their remarks for the purpose of clarification or information. Speakers must observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. Interested parties or the representatives may address the board by written communications to the village clerk at villagepittsburgh.com. All written communications will become part of the public record and will be attached to the minutes for that meeting. At the sender's request, written communications will be read aloud by the clerk at the meeting and will adhere to the 3-minute time limit. If printed materials or other media are provided by attendees during the meeting, they must be submitted to the village board with optional distribution to audience members. All materials will be part of the public record. Private distribution of materials to audience members only is prohibited.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. So I just wanted to start off by giving the update on the fire and just sort of where we are. Good news is we're here and we're all in one piece. So we'll start with that. But last Wednesday, I think many of you know at this point by now, there around 10:15 roughly, a small fire did break out here at Village Hall. It actually was above the fireplace to the left, up in the attic and under the eave of the building. It was very quickly contained, and it really actually is amazing just how quickly everybody sprang into action. There was a deputy, Deputy Nick Mahoney from the sheriff's office, was actually in the village at the time and close to Village Hall when the alarm went off. And he sprung into action, and he realized smoke was coming out of the rear of the building, and he ran around back. He saw that we had a garden hose back there. He turned it on full blast and just started hosing down. And the Pittsburgh Fire Department, our neighbors, responded immediately as well. So it was all hands on deck. It really was extraordinary. We really were minutes away from something that could have been much, much worse for this beautiful, beautiful old building. I also really would like to thank Village Hall staff. Dorothea, you have just been aces, stepping up and coordinating with insurance and inspections and investigations and all of the things going on. Zach, you as well, and Jason Curtis, you were right there on scene with Dorothea and me that night. The DPW crew stepped up. It was all hands on deck and has been since. But you can see our meeting room is back in shape, so good shape. So that's wonderful. And now where we are today, we have had the insurance investigation out there. There also is the actual cause of the fire is still under investigation. So we really don't have any news to report and will not speculate in any way, shape, or form until we actually get, the final conclusion as to what happened.
Yep.
So just on a final note, really, I think that Deputy Mahoney really should receive a commendation, and also our fire department. They were absolutely amazing. It really could have been so much worse. So with that in mind, I'd like the board to make a motion to direct our attorney to help us work on some commendations.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Oh, bless you.
Trustee Stetser? Aye. Trustee Lampier?
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next up, we have some non-municipal permits this evening.
Yes, we do. I guess that's all me.
That's on you, yeah.
Okay, Pittsford Crew, the regatta, it's coming back in May. I'm thrilled to say that in the middle of February because it means we're getting closer to summer. So this is a standard non-municipal we get every year. I don't think there's any really questions or changes that need to be addressed.
It's the
So
same thing.
unless the board has anything.
And as everybody knows, it's Memorial Day weekend, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of a nice thing.
And it won't require 45 days.
That's right, it won't.
Right.
We're well in advance. We're good.
Yeah, so that is good. Are there any questions that we have on this? I mean, it's.
No, I think we had a list for the.
Yeah, they,
That's
the
what we got in
standard
trash
approvals and they
Yeah,
took care of it.
parking and
If
everything.
they set up shop at DPW, there's a whole list.
List.
Yep.
List.
Okay, if that being the case, unless another trustee has a question. Sorry.
What, you got?
Hang on one second, I'm sorry. Finish what you were saying.
I was just going to make a motion, but Zach.
Oh, okay,
didn't have a-
okay.
No, that's a good question that Lily brought up, is about the garbage, because every year it is an issue, and I think we always come back and say we should probably be voting to having more garbage receptacles before we,
We brought that up last year, and they were responsible for cleaning up their garbage.
yeah, but without any teeth in that, I'm not sure what the rule is.
Well, the teeth is if it's not cleaned up, we can charge back the labor of the
Yep.
DPW
Yes.
for cleaning it up. I think we can make that
Yeah,
very
we'll make
clear.
it part of that, and we'll make it clear to them
Okay.
as part of the approval.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good way to go, because you'd spend time on it.
Yeah, just because every
You know?
year it's madness for us to go around and pick up. apples.
Well, plus you're also dealing with the staging area, because it's out of DPW. You have a lot of moving parts
Yeah.
with this, so.
Receptacles all along South Main Street and along,
Yeah.
overflowing typically, so I know there are a lot of things going on at once, but it's just a combination of everything that is happening and the responsibility of people
Mhm.
coming back on.
Do they typically bring some extra with them?
They will, not so much on the Canal Path or on North Main Street, just around our DPW facility. And I think they do clean up sometimes along the Canal Path.
I'm just wondering if that's a discussion we should have with the Pittsburgh Crew group
Yeah.
about them leasing extra trash cans for which they are responsible.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what the chamber does for Canada.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Let's set up a little pre-meeting and really just nail this down, so they really understand it, and we're all together in the room and saying these things and
Okay,
making sure it's followed through.
that's a good idea.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay,
Okay,
let's do that.
all right,
Do I need to make that a part of the motion? That,
I would,
okay, it's a condition.
yeah.
Then I would like to make a motion that we approve the non-municipal use permit for Pittsburgh Crew Regatta, May 27th through 28th, 2023, with the condition that, how do we put it, that there will be a discussion regarding the responsibility of Pittsburgh Crew to aid with the trash.
Trash
At the end of the-
pickup from the event.
Yeah, from the event.
Yep. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next up.
Friends of Pittsburgh Community Library Book Sale. This is, again, an event we see every year. They're requesting for March 16th and 18th and June 8th and 11th. This will require a 45-day waiver for the March event.
And it's pretty much the same.
Correct, it's
Yeah.
housed at the library. I think it's mostly for their banner and their postings and
Yeah.
the additional
Yeah.
traffic.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the non-municipal use permit for Friends of Pittsburgh Community Library book sales, March 16th and 18th, and June 8th through 11th. And do we need to do this two separate? Because
No,
it's
you can do it all in one.
And waiving the 45-day limit for the March 16th through 18th event.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Not done yet.
I'm going to give it to Justin.
It's
He hasn't had one yet.
like tag team, I know.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next
And
up.
least of, not all, least, I have the town of Pittsburgh with their slew of events for in the summer, which include top ones are Paddle and Pour, Memorial Day Parade, and the Food Truck Music Fest. And they gave us the concert listings for the summer, so schedule yourself now.
Yeah.
Zach, what is our responsibility, the DPW, the royal we, meaning DPW, is there any responsibility in there? I mean, other than Paddle and Pour?
Not so much for the town event.
Okay,
We help set up at our shop, get everything ready for the crew teams to arrive at our shop,
yeah,
use our shop throughout the weekend, and then clean up, whatever's left behind afterwards. Setting up their docks, the ramps.
This would be for Paddle and Pour,
so that's for
though.
Paddle and Pour. I meant any of these other things that are on the calendar?
For the town
No,
event.
we really don't have much to do with
Okay.
the towns will employ
Mhm.
Okay,
that they're pretty self-reliant.
all right,
And the Memorial Day Parade.
yeah, I was just gonna ask if we needed to schedule around the summer hours and things like that for,
Once in a while, we might be asked to set up
Yeah.
barricades here and there.
Okay, but
a lot of
nothing
times
like-
it goes through the town, and the town ends up doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, also just wanted to make note, just so people understand, last year the Paddle and Pour was held behind the library in the parking lot. And then this year, the town's requesting that the street is closed from Four Corners down in front of Village Hall, across the bridge, and then it'll be open again at Chain Place. And they've spoken with first responders, they've spoken with NISTOD, and have received approvals. And I kind of think it's kind of great, because they can look at the
Yeah,
regatta from the bridge,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
This is for Paddle and Pour.
Yeah, for Paddle and Pour,
From the Four Corners
Mhm.
to the Shane Place.
yeah, the Shea Place will be open, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes perfect sense because you're not affecting businesses that
I
way.
know, I
And
know.
I always thought it'd be a great place to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it really worked out, because we really don't have, they don't have a location anymore where it traditionally was staged from in front of where Towpath Bike is.
yeah,
So I think this is kind of a cool thing to
Yeah.
do. Yeah, a little bit of a change. Okay, so any more questions on this, or I'll entertain a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Town of Pittsburgh events and request for non-municipal use permits.
Do we have anything that needs 40? No, we don't.
No, it's
We're good.
all summer. That's why I'm loving this town.
Yeah, wow, something to look forward to.
Second.
Okay, trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Hi.
Motion passes. Okay, the village can set up and pass out COVID tests.
That's right, we have so many COVID tests, I know. Just a reminder, can everybody please silence their cell phones? Just in case here. Okay. So next up, oh yeah, setting the date for the town park meeting, public input.
Correct, I
Yeah.
did email the board. I heard from Renee, but you didn't give me a date or anything that was open. I'm still waiting to hear back from Supervisor Smith on his availability. If there's some dates the board can kind of give me tonight that I can look at.
Yeah, let's take a look here, folks.
Did
Want
you
to
already
throw them
send-
out again, please? I'm sorry. The dates that were being discussed for the town,
Right now, we are looking into March,
March, okay.
because given everything, and right now,
Yeah, we're into March.
we're going into March.
We just scheduled there was another meeting you just had.
February 28th, we're looking at the code
February
reviews
28th, okay, that's not
Mhm.
much. All right,
And-
we're good then.
budget.
Okay.
My calendar's awful full. Maybe April looks good.
I know, it is filling up fast.
No, I'm
Amazing.
joking. Obviously, we want to have that sooner than later. I show this isn't really sufficient. I don't have anything on the calendar for the 6th and 7th of March in my personal.
I won't be available on the 6th.
Okay. Well, let me bring up the calendar on the village website.
I'm out of town that week, but I don't mind if you all.
I don't see anything the 13th, 14th,
Okay.
the 21st doesn't have anything. I'm sure we have the Mondays I would try to avoid. We do have some budget meetings scheduled for there.
There's a town board meeting on the 14th.
Okay.
Okay,
that's
so we know, that's not going to
So
be viable.
maybe the 21st or 28th.
Mhm. Let's see.
Sure.
Yep. No, the 21st is the election.
Oh, yeah, that won't do.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
Sorry.
Let's see.
Are
What
we
about the
having it here
13th?
or is the town going to host it?
No, we'll have it here.
No, it's here, it's a village election.
No, not the election, the meeting you're talking
Oh,
about.
I thought you were talking about the election.
No, I'm not the elections here.
No, we're having it here. 'cause
We'll have it
It's for village residents to
Okay,
have input.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we can't choose a night where we have something else going on.
Okay, so then I would go 28th, 29th, 22nd.
28, let's see, 28? Oh, that's another town board meeting. It says, yeah, I'm looking.
All right, 29th.
Yeah,
20
29th or even the 22nd is fine.
Yeah, 20,
Yeah, oh, yeah. let's look at
322,
22nd.
329.
22nd's good. Does that work for people?
Mhm.
Sure.
All right, are we,
We're going with it.
you're going with the 22nd,
Yep.
an alternate 29th,
An alternate
okay?
29th for people, so we can give Bill a couple dates.
yeah, we
Yeah.
do have a meeting the 23rd, so those would be 2 nights. Is that okay? I mean, it'd be 2 nights in a row?
It's a double header.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Thank
Hi,
you.
Jeff.
I appreciate your participation, and I'll send you an email with the outcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So, okay, we're not ready for the public hearing. Well, we're just in time, so it's not 7 o'clock yet. So why don't we take a look at, so why don't you just update us on the Tree City designation? 'cause
Oh,
that's
sure.
just-
I don't have the email in front of me, but the village was able to renew and obtain our Tree City designation again.
Yep.
So we're back in compliance,
Yep.
and it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and actually, I can just say, just very quickly, we're going to have a joint Arbor Day, kind of Earth Day event with the town, and it's going to be behind the Spiegel Center, and that'll be April 22nd. And we'll have, our tree giveaways of native trees, and, there'll be some games for kids, probably going to have some live music. The town may get a food truck, we're not sure. But anyway, we're working on that, so, and that also is in compliance with our being a tree city.
Correct.
So-
And we'll do another resolution in honor of the trees and Arbor Day prior to that event.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we, since Jeff is here, why don't we switch to the refuse district discussion? Because we know some residents are interested in that, and also many of us are aware that the town has been implementing some refuse districts. And Jeff, thanks so much for doing some research on this and, what it looks like for a village to enable a refuse district, because my understanding, Jeff, if I'm correct, it's different,
It's all different than this.
Yeah. similar but different, as they say.
Doesn't operate with petitions.
Okay,
It's going to be totally up to the board's discretion. I would imagine the board would want some kind of public input on that issue. So,
Yeah, so I have a question. I don't know if you were pausing or whether you have more information.
either or, if you have a question, let's.
It's a discussion, it's interactive.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I do recall having this, bits and pieces of this discussion before, and I think what the question was, it doesn't, what if only part of the village wants to do it, not another part? What if there's like 3 streets that want to do it? What if there are only 3 people on one street who want to do it and the rest of the people don't? All of those, that kind of information, I think, is what we would need to put together so people understand if they're going to take a petition, what is the result of that petition?
You could gather input by a petition, but it doesn't have the same legal effect as a petition to the town.
There's no, if I'm, sorry to jump in, but my understanding is that if you're a town in New York State, there's legislation that provides the framework for creating the refuse districts within your town. There is no legislation,
Well,
or there is, in New York State, there's no mechanism?
no.
How does that work? It's just different from the town.
It's different.
It's not in petitions.
Quickly, the mechanism of the town is you file a petition of an area with more than 50% of the assessed value owners, and the board then acts on that petition.
Right.
In the village, the trustees form or don't form a benefit district. Included in benefit districts are refuse districts. So that is really more from the trustees who've been elected to act in the best interests of the residents of the village. So they're exercising their judgment for the villagers in terms of what they're going to do. So to the question of could there be different areas, the question is, or the answer is yes, but once there is an area, people cannot say, I don't want to be part of it.
So it would be like having
Or a sewer
one
district.
provider, yeah, and does that impact our taxes? Yeah,
No,
It's not going to do it.
it's not a
yeah.
tax.
No, well, there was impacting the tax cap because it's a form of
But
revenue, but we
it's not a
exceeded.
tax.
Yeah, so
okay,
It's a
for
fee
the
for,
town, it was an issue.
Yeah.
That was why it was raised as a concern.
okay.
it's a
Yeah.
fee for a benefit.
Okay. But it would be just like you move in, it's like when you move into the city of Rochester, granted, that's the city of Rochester providing the service, but you don't have a choice.
Right,
It's,
but you could do it by areas in the village.
okay. So if there was a neighborhood that was like, we definitely don't want to do it with this.
You could carve out, I mean, you could make,
But
the
that's
districts,
not a very big.
your district is not required to be those boundaries of the village.
Okay.
Or it could be the entire
Or it could be
village,
the
you know, in
entire
other words, there's a couple ways to go. It could be the entire village, or could be certain areas that.
But if
make-
you're within an area, it removes your opportunity to choose. I mean, if your area is in the refuse district and you have one company doing your neighborhood,
Right,
you don't have the option of
right,
having
what-
your own company
Correct.
to come and take
Well,
your trash.
you
Well, I'm
know,
not sure that's quite true.
no,
I think you're gonna be able to hire somebody, but you're still gonna pay
I see.
the
So you're going to
refuse.
be paying twice.
yeah, you pay
there's,
twice.
there's just a fee that goes on
Okay.
your tax bill, just. the
Kind
way
of
you see it.
removes your
Removes your
freedom of choice a little.
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. I don't think, even in a town, once they establish their once they establish their refuse districts, I don't think you can opt out.
No, I don't believe you can.
So maybe he'll do it, I don't think you can.
Does it get tricky if the property changes hands, if you sell your own?
No, they're still in the district.
I don't want that.
Well, then they don't move in.
It's not based on the owner of the property, it's based on the district, as I understand, that's been
Right.
set up.
Yeah, so
So-
just think of it like a sewer district or a light district
Okay.
or something like that.
Yeah, you
water
move
district.
into your house and you get the sewer bill, you're in our sewer district.
But I mean, I guess I'm thinking it, maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly. If somebody contracts with a waste company,
Uh-huh.
and they don't like that waste company, and they want to do somebody different, and the rest of the neighborhood has the
So
one that's contracted with, where does that leave them?
No, the neighborhood doesn't contract.
We bid it out.
The village does, the
Figured you would just have one.
We bid it out and it's awarded.
village contracts, and then if you have, I mean, if you have enough dissatisfaction with the service, they could always change,
Okay.
to rebid it.
Mhm.
We'd probably want to rebid it annually anyway.
And then there was something else I was just thinking about the bidding. Well, what's happened in the town is the districts that have been set up, it actually has significantly reduced the monthly fee.
Okay.
So it has been successful to a large extent in the town, and so there's actually, I believe, additional districts underway, because when I spoke to Supervisor Smith, he said that the fees have been reduced by almost 50% for homeowners, because it's competitive, it's a competitive bid, and it's a
Okay.
large area that would be covered by, the company that's awarded the bid.
And the bid, and we would take care of what at this end, in the village?
It just goes out on the
On the bill, I mean, it goes out on the.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you would figure out how you want to do it. I don't know what the specific mechanics are for the collection, for the billing and collection, but I would do whatever the town's doing with their districts. How do they do it?
yeah, that's something we're looking into, just to see what their model is.
I wouldn't try to reinvent that wheel.
Yeah.
I would just,
Yeah. There was something else I was just going to say about setting up the district. Oh, just about the public input, because this was also part of a discussion that I had with our attorney. We could actually send out initially some kind of an educational mailer to every single household. What is a refuse district? What are the benefits? Just like an FAQ, frequently asked questions, Q&A, and then potentially set up at the end. The action would be a date, where the public, we could have a public input meeting to further, discuss it with our residents. So I do think it has to go to every single household. We have to have something like that where they're getting that information in the mail.
If it has a chance to hit every household, I think notification is
I
necessary.
mean, it's similar actually to what we did when we had the marijuana, referendum. It's actually pretty similar, I think, because it affects every single household in the village as well. So Justin, did you want to say something good?
Well, I'd like to review some more about the law and understand better how we would have our own refuse district, and I haven't done that yet. But one question that I did have is, Jeff, do you happen to know what sort of flexibility there is for homeowners who might leave during certain parts of the season? Can we offer the flexibility within the refuse district of saying that this person leaves?
well, I think it would go, no, it's by house.
Mhm.
If you think of it, as the mayor said, like a sewer district, when you leave, oh, you mean when snowbirds?
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
They don't-
Or you
Yeah,
pay
that
for
would be
three months
research.
and you don't want to pay your.
No, I think you're stuck.
Yeah, it's just part of the,
Right, if you're in a district, even if you're a vacant property, you're gonna get stuck with it.
yeah.
So those are all things to consider.
And it is different because the sewer bill's based on the usage of water, and if you're away, it does drop.
Not usage of garbage.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's sort of no other way to do it.
But it may be cheaper if we get a better rate, so yeah, these are the things we need to discuss. Because
Yeah.
you're paying less and it ends up being as much as you would have paid as a, part-time resident, it might be worth it, yeah.
Yeah, it could net out, actually, that's true.
I actually have
Yeah,
don't know enough
yeah,
about it yet, yeah.
yeah. Oh, I see a hand.
Robert Corby, 7 Washington Avenue. I just wanted to remind the board that about 7 or 8 years ago, we thoroughly investigated this issue. And so all of that would be in the minutes. So rather than redo research that's already been done, you might want to look at the history. We did a village-wide survey, and our research at the time indicated there would be about a 20 to 25% savings for residents from the fees that they paid to the individual haulers. At the time, we had more haulers in the village than we do now. The results of the survey were fairly conclusive. People at that time voted it down, and the primary reason I remember for people not being in favor was, one, the reason that Justin cited, but the biggest reason was the loss of choice. So as a resident, I suggest that you might sort of copy what we did before. It's already been done. Why waste time and reinvent the wheel, and maybe do another survey, because I think that's the best way to determine what village residents would like today. Thank you.
And that was before the town set up their refuse
It
district,
was,
so.
it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, I don't remember the survey. but-
Yeah.
Actually, the one I remember was sort of contemporaneous, when we thought about last, was when, several years ago, the town was
Right.
doing it.
Yeah, I feel,
And I
yeah.
think they offered to run a survey for us, I'm not positive of that.
Hmm, okay. Yeah, we're bringing it back because a number of residents have been inquiring, and so we thought, let's take another look here. Yes,
When you're ready, I have comments.
sure, of course.
Okay, Art Pierce. I believe it's 70 State Street. Art, really need to put your address with the comment. Where did the refuse district document in the agenda packet come from? Does this not address a number of questions raised by the board this evening? Should not the village board have a sense of cost to share with the residents and bring it into discussion sooner than later? Sense of other nearby villages and town pay/pay rates per household.
This is early days, thanks, Art. We're just starting out here, so, all that information, of course, we would gather, but this is just really sort of our next steps and just informing the board because this has been brought up by our residents.
I believe the document came from the town of Pittsburgh.
It did come from the town, just to give an example of really what they were doing, so.
Peggy Carabaris. Again, you really need to give me your name and address. If it's not provided, I'm not going to give the comment. I can't remember where everybody lives. What about commercial properties? I think everybody would be subjected to.
They're in the district. Yep. Any other comments or questions?
Nope, that's all I have at this time.
Okay. So next steps here. Where do you want to, well, you wanted to look more closely at sort of the law and how that,
Yeah, Jeff, if you did have a reference, would you mind sending that to the board?
2200 of the village law is the special benefit district.
Thank you.
okay, so I guess that's really where we are, to revisit the law and,
Do we want to bring this back to the next agenda?
yeah, why don't we, just drill down a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more information about what it would look like for us.
And then maybe we
As a
can
village.
talk about what we would, because I think a survey is definitely necessary to get a temperature, but we want to kind of have a better idea of the impacts, the disadvantages and the advantages before we send that out, so.
Well, I think also, even prior to the survey, or in conjunction with, is that educational component that needs to go to every household, that this is something we're looking at again, this has been, brought up. And just doing, what you're saying, the frequently asked questions, well, I'm a snowbird, what happens? Well, you're still part of the district, that kind of thing. I think that just gives everybody sort of an even playing field of general information about, the basics of it anyway. And then we can take it from there.
I'm not certain, but can you, if you have just a hauler service, I signed up with Waste Management, when I leave town, can I discontinue? I mean, do I just get a break?
Some do, our old one did, the current one won't if you
Yeah,
just pay
so
us.
I'm not sure that's a significant difference.
I think a lot of them have changed the policy.
Yeah,
Could
you
be.
just,
I know, because, actually, I'm pretty sure.
you just don't put your
I
trash out.
haven't been
but you
traveling,
pay
so.
Yeah, so people-
Mine's included in my tax bill, so
Yeah, you
it's
have
not
to,
a thought.
yeah, and that's just the way it would be
Yeah,
if we
it's
had the district, yeah.
coming from that avenue, it's simple for me. It's just taken care of. I
Yeah.
like that.
Okay. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. Okay, so it's a little bit after 7, so we have a public hearing, a special use permit for Thirsties. Hi, Dan, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Good, you
Hi,
braved
Dan.
the ice and
Yes,
sleet
yeah.
and rain and snow, and now they're calling it frizzle. Anybody hear that one? It's frozen drizzle.
I've never heard that, but it feels
Yeah,
like it.
it's frizzling, I guess, so.
Very fancy.
Okay, so where are we here? Let me pull this up. Yep. What do you have here for the board? What are your,
I don't, you have to walk me through a little bit as far as
Okay,
the
so-
public hearing part. I don't know if there's a
so
question, concerns, and I'm here to answer something, or
how long has Thirsties been operating?
since 1971. So 50 plus years.
Yeah, it's a fixture. So, my understanding is just reading it, nothing's really changing, you're just really
Correct. I think, so how this came about
Okay.
is I had mentioned how I wanted to put a pergola on the patio, and through discussion, I was told to make any improvements or changes of any sort, I would have to go from pre-existing non-conforming to the special use permit. So that's kind of what started this whole conversation, and we're just going through the process now.
So there's really, and then, Jeff, I know you wanted to speak to that it's a type 2 seeker, and how we move that forward this evening.
It would be a type 2 seeker pursuant to 617.5C18.
Yeah, I'll get that from the table.
Okay.
Want to go slower?
Sure.
617.5C18.
Now I got it.
So, nothing's really changed.
Right, so I guess,
It's just,
to the point of, if I want to do anything even small, that seems like I need to be in a certain position to do so freely. And again, there's no changes operationally,
Right.
The hours are the same, the garbage pickup's the same.
right,
So everything really stays the same, it's just the fact that those things like such as a pergola, I'd like to be able to put up.
you're already in the tavern overlay, it's already,
Correct.
it's permitted use, all of that,
Especially permitted use.
especially, excuse me, you're right, especially permitted use.
Right.
So any questions or thoughts from the board on this? Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, is anybody wishing to speak, or is there anybody online regarding the special use permit?
I got nothing at the moment.
Okay,
Did you open the public hearing or is
We just
we just
did.
opened it. Yep. Oh, okay,
That's all
okay,
right.
all right. Okay, with that being said,
Yeah,
we have,
Almost.
okay.
Okay, Art Pierce, 70 State, support the application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Art. Anything else? Should we give it another little bit?
Okay,
Okay.
nothing online.
Okay, all right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair.
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, back to the board. Is there any additional discussion?
Just note that this is right in the middle of the Tavern Overlay District, which was part of the 2009 update to our zoning code. Seems as though it's still a supported use, going from a pre-existing non-conforming to a part of the laws. And to me, it makes sense to allow this as a specially permitted use in the district.
Thank you.
Well
Okay.
said.
Yes, very well said.
What
Thank
you
you.
said.
Yeah,
Sure.
ditto.
Finding subtract.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the special use permit before us?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please. Is there anything else?
I would just add with
What we added.
all of the conditions that are set forth in the application and as stated by the applicant in the record.
Amended as suggested by our council.
Okay. We're
Do I
good?
need to second it again? I
Sure.
second the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all seconded.
Okay.
Good. Roll call. Trustee Lanfair.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Ta-da.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Be safe out there tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you.
Careful out there. Okay, let's see. Where are we? All right, next up, the resolution to accept the Canal Ways grant. And you have the letter.
Yep, I put the letter in. This is part of the grant paperwork we received and steps that we need to follow through with to get everything started. I did talk to their office, because if you see with the letter they gave me to February 17th, I informed them no. And they said that they didn't give enough time, that we have plenty of time to get everything in. We have 5 years to enact on the grant. This isn't something necessarily has to be done next week.
This is an administrative action.
Yeah, it's just administrative
On our
towards
end
the
for
grant.
them.
There's other paperwork that needs to be submitted. This is just one more step along in the grant process.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what grant this is and what it applies to? It's not clear from the packet.
Oh, yeah, it's on the letterhead is from the New York State Parks Recreation.
Specifically, is this the Shane Place?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, yep, it is, yeah.
The July grant application.
Yes, exactly, yeah, we had the workshop and all, yeah. Okay, any other,
I had a question about the resolution at some point, some of the language in there. Are we at that point or not yet?
I'll point you to Jeff. This was
Okay.
language I received from the Canal,
Okay,
New York State, and I just filled in.
sort of as a matter of
small pieces.
course,
Yeah,
okay?
there's,
it's just the part, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth paragraph, authorized and directed to agree to the terms and conditions of any required deed easement granted that affects the title of real property owned by the municipality improved by the grant fund. That's just if for some reason, whatever ends up happening there, we have to sort out if we're given a right of way to use it, or what is that? Can you explain
No,
that?
you gotta finish the sentence. It's gonna be if there's any public access covenant, conservation easement, or preservation covenant affecting the property,
Okay,
that's what you'll be agreeing to allow,
okay,
if it's required,
okay,
and if it's municipally owned property.
okay,
You can't grant an easement to property or nothing.
right,
so.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, I had some questions about this as well. I guess first of all, I wanted to question a bit how this is an administrative action. It seems that this board is tasked with thinking through things that apply to the fiduciary responsibilities in front of us, and I have quite a few questions about this grant. I stated some questions about the grant previously. I guess maybe starting with a very basic one. How much was the original ask for this project? What is the financial scope of the project that was originally requested in our application?
I think it was about $1 million because it wasn't just the one grant. It was essentially because of the time frame and because of the opportunities out there. And I believe the consultant explained this to the board and also in the workshop that the recommendation was you apply for as many grants as possible, sort of like see what comes back. So out of what was applied for, we received one grant and for the $300,000. So it's not that there's $1 million that's out there. You know, we didn't get some of those other grants that were part of the packet of the application.
Okay.
Yeah, so this specific grant that we got is from the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation.
So I recalled it being something slightly more along the lines of 1.2 or so, but maybe we could say $1 million. So if the original ask was for $1 million, what was the scope of that original ask, and what subset of that does this $300,000 with, I guess, another $300,000 match?
The project remains
that-
essentially the same, which was what the Board of Trustees identified. Jeff, and maybe you want to weigh in. It is that section of the path that was stabilized over the summer by the Canal Corporation. Even if we say we got all the grants, say it's like, wow, all of a sudden, we got $1 million. We don't have to use that. We just know what we need something to, do this project on the path. So I know everybody's looking at a very large number, but we have the authority and the opportunity to use up to 300,000 in this instance. Maybe it's less, maybe it's the 300,000. It just depends on, and this was also identified publicly when we had our workshop. If we get the grant, then we come back and we hold charrettes. Then we design the project. This was done on a conceptual design to, widen the path, make it more accessible, all of that. So now we do the work. We have some funding, and now we can do the work as a community and make sure we get what we all want. So that's where it's at. It's not, there's not $1 million for us to work with. We have
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000, matching funds, so.
So we have to come up with another 300,000.
Yeah, so essentially the way it would work is we are getting, let's say we use all 300,000, we would have a $600,000 project for half price.
Okay,
That's how it would work.
go ahead. You were speaking. I'm sorry.
So,
Or
no,
you
that's,
could only use 100,000.
Yeah, or we use 100,000. I mean, again, it's up to us, and it's up to us as a community to come up now with the final plan. What was put forth in the application, as is very common, is a conceptual design that, in this instance, the Office of, the Parks and Recreation and what else, Preservation, said, looks like a pretty good idea. We'll give you the money, go back to your community, refine the project, and move forward.
Okay, if I ask a-
That's pretty much how the process works, yeah.
Given what you just explained, and they based the money, giving us the money on what we submitted, and we don't do that, aren't they going to feel like that was a bait and switch? I mean, aren't we tied to that plan?
What we're tied to is the scope of the project, which is that section of the canal path that was identified, that we all identified as a board and voted on to enhance and improve for our community. So that's what they're looking at. They received a conceptual, they're not going to say, gee, you didn't put the pavers there.
That's what I mean.
No, it isn't like that. It is really, we really like the idea, it's looking good, work with your community, refine it. It will be in general what we put out there because it's that piece of a canal path.
When would we have the discussion regarding, let's call it the 300,000, regarding the matching funds and how we would work that into our budget? Wouldn't it go into this year's budget to say,
I wouldn't-
we've got to come up with 300,000?
I wouldn't say necessarily this year's budget. As I said, you got 5 years. So you're going to plan it. You're not going to want to start coming up with money today because it might be 3 years before you decide. You might have to ban and
So
pay
you
it
can't
off.
start
We could
using
ban,
them.
we
No,
could
we're-
ban or bond. In other words, that was the presentation, that we had with.
Right.
the
It's,
firm.
I'm going to say it's going to be similar to, and nobody told me this, but I'm going to guess the way this is going to outlay is similar to the dormitory. You're going to spend it and wait for it to come back to you.
Mhm.
So will we have to ban some of this? Absolutely, but we'll get money back. But,
To pay it down.
right, could we start a reserve towards this project and put money away in the next couple of years? Absolutely. But it's going to take time to get the community together, decide on a plan, and then get it done. That's why they give you 5 years. It's
No,
not,
we don't have to do it this year. It's a 5-year window.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, so.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Justin, because I got a million of them.
perhaps trustee Stetser can go ahead.
Thanks, Justin. I asked this question during, or when we had the consultant, when we were applying for the grant, and I'll ask it again. It comes, if we have the community input sessions, the charrettes, and if everyone is like, we want to keep it this tiny path on the edge here, and we just want to put some better decorative stone or whatever, and it only is a small portion of the grant, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Right.
It's based on
We don't
input
have
from
to
the
use all the
community.
money, we don't
Yeah.
have to, it
Nope.
will,
Nope.
so we're basically now, we had a concept to at least get the grant. Now we come back and we do the work, we have the sessions, we get the input and plan it as a
Yeah,
community. And you just said that, but I'm just reiterating.
Sure,
what said.
and people don't want any capital improvements done or anything to enhance that, then, we work with that as well. So,
You don't have to spend any of it.
no,
Right,
no. This is administrative to say we accept it and then we don't have to use it.
yeah, it's the start.
We can say, no, we never want to do a capital improvement on Chain Place, we don't want anything changed, doesn't matter. Yeah.
The resolution says not to exceed an amount to exceed 300,000.
Yeah.
That means we just can't go over 300,000 with it, but doesn't mean you can't go under.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to have, they would have to approve any plans. I mean, this is just the initial step, and then you make you have a plan developed,
yeah.
and you have to take it to them and say, this is what we want to do. Then they'd have to approve it,
Mhm.
and then you can't do anything until they approve it. Is that right?
I would think so.
Yeah,
That would be
Right?
approved.
I mean, that's the way all the other
that's
stuff.
down the path, I mean, down the road.
I mean, we're really at the, do your resolution, give me this,
Mhm.
the basic stuff, and then,
So-
start planning.
Another way to say it is if you don't do the resolution, you miss the opportunity to have any grant money out of this
Right.
money.
Yeah, we basically,
If you do the resolution,
You have that.
then you have time to plan it, but you're not on the hook for anything.
Right.
And we've got a section of the canal path that's falling in that has been stabilized, but
Yeah.
it's, the longevity of it isn't great from what I
Yeah.
understand, because it was a temporary fix.
Yeah, they did a temporary fix in anticipation of us doing something more permanent.
Yeah, so we need to fix it. It's a showpiece of our village, and we need to fortify it and make sure it will,
Safe.
yeah, it's safe. It was crumbling, we've already lost a huge, section of it, and it's frequently used, so it seems a good idea to not turn down grant money to help us fix it, stabilize it.
Yeah,
So if, in the grant application, we talked about a larger re-envisioning of Shane Place. We talked about the comprehensive plan, we talked about the conceptual plans there. And now we're saying that if we accept this grant, then we can go to a planning stage. So does that mean that this is a staged or a phased project as part of the larger reimagining Shane Place?
sure.
We said in the application, when asked, is the project a phased project as described above, we said no.
Oh, you mean, in terms of the rest of Shane Place? That has nothing to do with this. This is the section, the board voted, maybe we can recall this, the board voted very specifically the section that was stabilized by the Army Corps, or not the Army Corps, the Canal Corporation engineers. That's what we voted on. We voted on nothing else to do with the rest of Shane Place, ever. This is the section that I believe both of you made clear that that's what you would agree to,
Yes,
as I recall. And
the revetment
yeah,
and stabilizing the canal path. I just want to be very, very clear. I'm feeling unsettled, and I really would like to have all my questions addressed before voting on a resolution. And those questions, number one, that conceptual plan, I had heard after, I don't know where I read it or whether it was discussed in a meeting, that somehow this board had approved that plan by the mere fact that they had approved applying for a grant for it, that implied that the board had voted on that conceptual plan.
we voted on submitting an application for grant money. You can't just say, we're thinking about doing this, and we don't have any kind of plan. You have to show intent that there's something that you're looking at to do. Otherwise, you're not going to get the $300,000, and we invested roughly $19,000. Good investment, I think, for our village. We got $300,000. That is an opportunity, I think, for our village to really further stabilize that area and make it more accessible and available to residents and visitors alike. So whatever you heard, I think, was misinformation, because I don't know how many ways we can say this, and I'll say it one more time. It's a conceptual plan. The intention from the moment we found out about this grant was to get the funding and bring it back to our community and work together with our residents and our community to get the best plan possible and get it at 50% off with whatever we do, whether we use $50,000 or we use all the way up to $300,000. So there is no plan that this board has ever approved.
Okay?
Am I correct? I'm going to turn this over to the attorney. We did not approve a plan. We approved an application to get the funding.
Not to put a shovel in the ground, you haven't developed a plan.
You have to have something, yeah.
But there is no plan. I mean, you could, so if the music stops right here, no resolution, there will be no further opportunity.
Yeah, to lose some money.
To fix the canal.
Yep,
Bank, stabilize the bank.
yep, yeah, Zach.
Regardless of how you guys, the direction that you take this, we still need to plan for the restoration of the bank regardless.
I mean, and
One way or another, which is going to cost a lot of money.
And that's a good point, because, Canal Corporation owns the canal path, but we're responsible for it. Every community is. And so we have an opportunity as you say, and thanks for really, giving us the context of that, no matter what, we're going to have to do something. So this way, we at least get it at 50% off with whatever we come up with as a community in terms of that further stabilization and, making it more of an amenity, so, yeah, Lily.
Could I have a clarification about that? I don't know whether Zach would have this information or whether it would come from Jeff. Is that once we, let's say we make this improvement, then it's ours. Our responsibility going forward, not the Canal Corps. We can't turn to them 6 years from now and say, oh, some of the rocks fell down and we need more. And they say, oh, well, too bad, too sad, you did it, so you own it.
No, they always take care of the embankment.
Well, so if, correct me if I'm wrong, if we do anything to that bank, then we do own the work that we've done.
Right.
Correct.
They take care of it until, look at, we're looking in front of Aladdin's,
If
we're
we
in front of
do not-
Aladdin's. That's,
No.
we take care of that.
No, it's the canal's property. We have a use permit
Mhm.
where we can put stuff on it. Never our stuff, it's not our property. Okay? I mean, we have a shared responsibility for maintenance, but it's never going to be our property.
Well, anything that we do to it
It's going to
would be
be
our responsibility.
to maintain, to maintain.
Now, if
Not our property.
if we don't, and we require them to
No.
maintain it the way that it is, then we're going to keep seeing the same situation that we have currently.
Yeah, and it's a temporary stabilization anyway, they made that clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
That's what we can hope for in the future from them.
pretty much. I mean, you're seeing what you're going to get. So, but getting back to, where it was already built out in front of Aladdin's, that whole section, we take care of that. Yeah, that's how it works. And we would anyway, that's, every community has to do this. Everything that Fairport did, all of those improvements, it's on them.
Right, but the best way to look at it is the improvements belong to the canal. The maintenance of those Canal Corp, the maintenance of those improvements is our responsibility.
Whether we do it or the Canal Corp does it, because the Canal Corp did do sections of those
Yeah,
big
so that's,
stabilizations that we don't.
it's only what we put in there that we have to maintain.
Right.
So like we maintain the path, the asphalt.
Yeah, the asphalt
Yeah.
path is clearly
Right.
our responsibility.
Yeah. It seems silly to me that we wouldn't take an opportunity, given that we can go to the community. We've got an opportunity to fix that with a discount. And if we go to the community and they're like, we want to make it look exactly like it is, except just make it stronger underneath, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, at this point in time, $300,000 isn't going to get us far.
Right. It probably is going to look exactly the same, but stronger.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a start.
Yeah.
It's something,
We have to fix it
and it's a
anyway.
good thing, so,
Yeah.
it helps our community. Yeah, Bob, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think some of the
Name and address?
Robert Corby, 7 Washington Avenue. I think everybody supports improvements in the canal water, next phase. And I agree with the technical need to reinforce the bank there. All of the bank along the canal has that issue. It's worse there because kids throw stones in the water that we've all seen. I think what would assure a lot of us is because the design was developed in a vacuum and because Chain Place is the best waterfront district, the best preserved waterfront district in the state. The canal is a National Historic Landmark. The project will have to go through a more stringent Section 106 review. That we want to make sure that the workshop happens and that we can get input because there's functional aspects of the design that don't work. And as a preservation architect, there's visual aspects of the concept design that really are not compatible with the context. The one step that really needs to happen before the workshop is done is to do this properly. You want to do an inventory of the specific historic things that are important. And that not only includes things like the flour mill, but the relationship of the flour mill to the bank, how that area looked historically, so we don't lose the authentic character of what Chain Place is. And I think once we can set that up and have it go off successfully, that will streamline the whole process and make this an asset. And I think eliminate a lot of the angst about what the project involves.
Thank you, and I think you're really reaffirming everything that we've been saying in as many different ways as possible. So thank you for that. Appreciate those words.
And
Yeah.
could these funds be used for those studies? Or do they have to be used strictly for construction?
It's for the improvements, it's not for a study, but we can also go for other funding for a study.
But don't you have to have some, get to Lily's point, you do have to have someone come in and do some drawings and do the
Oh, for
charrette.
sure.
She's asking, can the funding be used
Yes.
to hire a firm?
We have to, for the firm, through the firm that we hire, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
them
I thought
do
you
the
meant something
charrettes
completely
and the-
different, like a whole other
Yeah,
stuff. Okay.
yeah.
No, it's part of the project, absolutely.
You'd have to get engineering and
Yeah,
everything
Yes,
done.
you get
I mean,
I think that's what she's
if you think
asking.
about it,
I
you
misunderstood.
have no shovel-ready plans.
Right,
We have
we don't
nothing.
have plans. Yeah, we have a segment.
Like anything we do, you gotta have shovel-ready
And
plans.
it's going to be just like every other project, all of the planning
Yeah.
has got to go into it, including looking at the context and the
WRP.
historical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it's gotta
I
go
mean,
through all the
this is-
rules and everything else.
This is a ground-up planning process once you get the grant. The grant is only the reason to understand we've got help.
Right.
But as to Zach's point, whatever has to get done has got to get done anyway.
Right.
And whatever's got to get done would involve the level of planning that anything would ever require being added to a historic asset, like the canal and the village.
So, just to follow through with your, what you said and what Bob said, because there have been grant funds used along the canal path there in the past, and they went through that process. There's nothing different about this process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to be, maybe I'm going the uptake, I like to be very clear and certain exactly what I'm voting on,
Sure.
so that it doesn't come back and say, well, this is what the vote meant. I like to be clear exactly what this resolution involves and what it ties us to financially going forward, because we really, I don't believe, have talked as a board about specifics regarding bonds or
We're not
bans or.
there yet.
We're not there yet.
So,
We're not there yet.
so rather than, it doesn't tie us to anything if we accept this, to say,
No.
now you're committed and you have to come up with a way.
All you're saying is you're willing to accept grant funding up to 300,000 for a project. You're not saying you're spending anything in that resolution, you're not saying anything. We haven't even got to the funding of this, because we haven't had the input. We have, as we said, we have no shovel-ready thing. You can't build something, you can't ban something until you have something to ban.
Okay, I was just making.
That's a whole process that we haven't even
Something
stepped
separate.
into.
And Jeff, you wanted to add to
So that's
that?
basically it. The board has not approved one nickel for any plan. And without the board approving one nickel for any plan, none of this money will be spent. But if you don't do the resolution, there is no ever any money that can be spent from this. And the village is on its own for the repairs.
Yeah, we'd be on our own to do anything. You
All
know.
of the 100% of every dollar is going to come out of your pocket, out of the village's pocket.
Yeah, Justin.
I understand that, and just to reiterate again, I think everyone is in favor of ensuring that the canal bank is stable and that it's usable and beneficial to the entire community. I guess what I'm trying to reconcile here are still a lot of discrepancies between what we're talking about now and what was in the grant application. So we're saying now that we can't talk about the financing until we actually know what we're going to do. Well, in the grant application, we actually said that the Village of Pittsford, this is a quote, the Village of Pittsford will pursue a municipal bond to provide the required grant match for the program.
And we did have that.
If I may just
Oh, I'm sorry,
continue for a moment here.
We'll get right back to that. Mhm.
We talked about the Village of Pittsford Comprehensive Plan calls for enhancements to Shane Place, which in its assessment in 2019 is underutilized area for potential redevelopment and adaptive reuse. And it says the capital improvements recommended herein are a crucial step in reimagining the Shane Place corridor and surrounding area for the enjoyment of residents and tourists alike. It sounds like now we're going for a more limited scope of the overall project as well. And there is another question in the application that said, should the full amount of the applicant's ESD funding request not be awarded, at what minimum level of ESD funding does the project become unfeasible? And we said, In the event that funding is not awarded, the village will defer pursuing the design improvements until the funding sources can be obtained. So to me, they're just, I want to understand, as Trustee Lanfear said, I want to understand what we're doing here. And it just seems there's such a gap between what we were asking for and the partial grant that we were awarded and the plan that might evolve based on that partial funding. I just don't know what this actual plan is in terms of providing the match and in terms of what we're going to build. So I guess, as a
I
concrete
want to
step
take
forward.
us, oh, I'm sorry, finish up.
Perhaps what we could do if, I don't want to lose this money either. If we can sit on that for a meeting, come back to it in the next meeting, and perhaps even, draw a small concept of what we're going to do, it would help me to be able to.
We're taking something that's fundamentally administrative. When any municipality is awarded any kind of grant in New York State, this is an administrative action to say, yeah, we'd like to use something up to $300,000 of this award. What you're reading from in the letter, I can tell you, we had a presentation, over a year ago, from the bond company to talk about just these types of projects, because the way for us to move forward as a village with these types of capital improvements, we are going to need to bond or ban, and that has been a discussion that this board has had. Otherwise, we're on the hook, and we would have to set up reserves, and we started to see what it looks like when you start to fund some of these reserves, how many years it takes. Does it take 10 years? Does it take 15 years to get to a certain dollar amount? And so I will guarantee you, and maybe Zach, you can speak to this, that in 10 to 15 years, do you think we would have any more erosion problems along that embankment? Yeah. So the other term that I've heard, and I know you've expressed this as well, this is the good debt. This is the investment in our community to get things done in a way that serves our community and serves visitors into our community, because they bring money into our community. So this is, again, I don't know how else to say it. It's an administrative action. We've laid it out, I think, in numerous ways. When is this due?
They gave me a little
February
window.
17th.
I don't,
Well,
like
you
I
had
said,
spoken with
initially
them.
it was February 17th. I
Right.
explained we didn't have a meeting until today. They were very understanding.
Right.
I don't think they're going to give us too much time because there's other communities who want this money, to be honest.
Yeah, they'll just go on to the next one.
I
I have one concern about doing a drawing. You said even just a drawing, because we haven't had any meetings yet with the community
You have to have the
to
public.
do it now that we have the money. Now we do the work. We can't just do a drawing without having all the shreds. And so in order to afford the shreds and to start doing some work on the planning, we have to accept the grant. So,
Yeah, I understand those problems, and, I guess to me, that just goes back to the issues around applying for the original grant. It was a very compressed timeline. The application did not come back to the board to be voted on before we submitted it. And now it seems like there are a lot of discrepancies about what we're going to do. So I guess in retrospect, what would have been more prudent is spending a little while having these charrettes, figuring out the plan, figuring out the scope, and then reviewing the application to say, is there a minimal subset of this project? Are there, how are we approaching the issues of matching when that inevitably comes back to us? And I don't feel that we've done that. A grant is not just free money, it's also an obligation. And to me, we haven't done the diligence to be able to ascertain whether or not those obligations are worthwhile.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I really couldn't. I see this as an investment. It's an opportunity. We are going to work with our community to get the best possible project, whether we use 300,000 or 80,000. I mean, whatever that is. Grant cycles are tight. They're short. It was a tight turnaround. The consultant did a great job and helped us land a grant. To make it anything more than that, all of the details and things that you're talking about, we have a 5-year window, as you have said, and can be properly addressed, and I know you're thinking everything's too quick. We have to be nimble. We have almost every other village and community in New York State going for this money. This is a window for our village. I don't know why we wouldn't take this opportunity. You have heard over and over again, there is no downside. There is no downside right now to simply approve, hey, yeah, thank you for giving us this money. If we want it, we're going to use it. We don't know how much we're going to use, and we'll get our design done with our community. But the idea that this is somehow a commitment that locks us in, you're wrong. It doesn't lock us in. All it does is say, we're interested in taking this money. We want to work on a project. We know, we've all agreed we wanted to make these improvements as a board. We voted on it. And also when we voted on it and worked with the consultant, they told you, they made it very clear in a public meeting that the turnaround was tight and they just had to get the grants in. They had that tight window and they did it in a week, pretty much, I think it was. So, I mean, we all were made aware of this, and I know that makes you uncomfortable, but I think we still have an escape hatch. If you don't want to use the money and the public says, no, we never want to do any improvements, done and done. This is an administrative action.
At the end of the 5 years, if we don't spend it, it goes.
And it goes away anyway.
We've had that happen with other grants.
I think
It goes away.
We've lost other
So-
grants.
If you did this and said, okay, we're going to use it, in 6 months you said, you know what, we don't want to tie ourselves to it, we don't want to do the work, you sent them a letter, give the money to some other community,
Yeah.
they take it and go.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the basics. I mean, I can't even start any of the other paperwork until we do the resolution, at least saying, you know what, we're interested in using this money.
Yeah, if we don't do this, basically we lose the money. I mean, that's really what it's coming down to, because, they've given us an extension, they
I mean,
understood.
that's it.
You know?
I mean, there's an out, there's always an out. Until
Okay.
you spend it, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't send them a bill or send them something and say, give me some money, they're not gonna give me any.
Yeah.
You guys approve all the bills, you're gonna see everything. If we go out to debt, you're gonna improve that. There is the plan, whatever gets in the ground, you're gonna approve that. All you're doing tonight is saying, yeah, we kind of like some free money, that's it. That's all you're doing. If you don't wanna do it, then saves me a lot of paperwork. That's all I
Oh,
say.
yeah, Seth.
I was just gonna say, you guys have already spent a lot of money to get a hold of this money.
Yeah, we made a $19,000 investment. Let's,
Yeah.
I think we could get a pretty good return.
I think some of those questions, if Justin has more, maybe we could reach out, he can talk to us, the representative representing us through the grant process.
Sure.
I mean, but to stop at this point, and I'm not trying to criticize the board, seems silly. I mean, to say you don't want that opportunity to save some money and do something with it. I mean, if it turns out it's not going to work, that's one thing, that's great. At least you looked at the opportunity. Right now, we're just saying,
Yeah, I
never
don't think we're
mind.
serving
I
our
have a
community
hard
by
time with
turning
that.
it down.
We're trying to save money and move things forward and get these things done. We can't do it without help.
Yeah, Dave.
David Ferris, 27 Monroe. I would support the resolution, but with serious reservation. That's only if there's no obligation that we accept the grant. But I'm very troubled with the process. Is we were told by our consultant, John Steinmetz, who did the comprehensive plan, that this is ongoing multiple years of state money. It's not a one-time grant process. So we rushed it through rather than doing design first. We went the other way on the project. But to correct, Mayor, the grant application was probably used $1 million, was over 1.4 million, and it lists borrowing over $1.6 million. So that's going to have an impact on other priorities of the village. That's what the grant application says.
We didn't,
Finish my comments, please.
okay,
So that's going to have an
Misinformation.
impact on, in August, with the ARPA money, $900,000 of capital projects were put before the board for the first time, including 2 streets. On the further voting, the ARPA money, 2 more streets were put, there was priorities. None of those have been budgeted, 4 streets, we haven't done any streets in 2 years. So I'm concerned if we get the grant accepted, I'm fine with that, but we need to sit down on a broad view of priorities. The stabilization should be a priority, that part of it. I expect there had to be some cost estimate to come up with that number, $1.4 million. And I presume from the conversation, the board has not seen that. Does that break out segments so the 300,000 could solve the problem in the embankment and stabilization? The rest of it is kind of, cosmetic, to be honest. It's not a need, it's a want, and it's a wonderful want. We have to put a priority of other capital needs in this village which have not been addressed in the last 2 years. And I sat through every meeting on this discussion in the same place. The board never was aware or approving of any 1.4 million or 1.6 borrowing, and there was no talk of other financial needs. So I go back to my starting point. I would support it. There's no obligations, but we need to take a hard look at it. And can we, if we get 300,000 spent, just say, is there some portion of the project that would fit? Will it meet one of the guidelines and requirements? I don't know the answer. It's complicated because the application is, Justin, like it is raised, seems to be comprehensive. This is the project.
Thank you for your comments.
What-
Yeah, but Jeff, if you want to.
I just want to know, what does the grant actually say? Doesn't the grant define what we can use the money for?
It is for canal improvements.
Yeah, okay.
It has a concept plan with it.
That's how you get the funding. You just show
Does
something in
Does
town.
that grant have a concept plan with it?
It does, this just tells me what I need to submit and to get the grant
That's the
process.
actual grant.
But what was submitted,
But that's not the
Oh, you're-
grant, that's not the grant award.
right,
The word just says you have
The
300,000.
grant award is for $300,000 of canal improvement.
Correct.
So that's,
that was the request.
so if you go out and put something in that's not a canal improvement, they're not going to cover it.
Right,
It's got to be specifically for canal improvements.
It was based on the application, however.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. It really, I would say the application merges in the grant. The application now is completely moot.
I don't think so from their request.
I think that they've said to accept this grant is limited to canal improvements, you have to do this resolution. And that's it. We're not tied to anything that came before. We can only use that money for canal improvements.
So we could do stabilization.
We can just get, yeah,
Did we get a cost estimate of what the project pieces are? Or any cost estimate for that number of 1.4 plus million?
but it's gone. That number's
It
gone.
doesn't
We didn't get
exist.
it. We didn't get 1 point.
It doesn't exist.
We somehow came up with a number to make the application.
I can tell you what they did. And they also said this again in the workshop and in the public meeting. They said it is in the best interest of any municipality, because they do this all the time, this firm and many others, to go for as many grants as possible. It ended up totaling, at the time, 1.4 million. They knew statistically we would never get that amount of money. And even, let's say we got 1.4 million.
So what does
Just,
the project
excuse me one
cost?
second, I'm still speaking. Thank you. Say we get all 1.4 million, it's like pasta, you throw it at the wall, it all stuck. We don't have to use it. We don't have to use it. We figure out what we can do, what we want to do with the public. This is what came back out of all of the grants that they put out there. They said, hey, wow, we got 300K to do some of these canal improvements on the section that we've all identified. That's where we are now. There's no more 1.4 million. That's gone. The rest of that money was awarded to other municipalities. We now just have this one grant that we did get out of the whole pile for $300,000. And we can use up to $300,000. It's in the best interest, I believe, and I'm saying this as your mayor, this is a good thing for our village. We can invest in our village. This is a capital improvement for our village. This is good. This is an administrative action, whether we don't even use it. We can still back out, if you all want to back out.
What was the cost of the project, though? What did our consultant estimate the cost?
Whatever we
That's what we're
get,
shooting towards. Yes, it is. We have to fund it if we do this project.
right now, what's before us right now, which I think we need to bring this back to the board. Right now, this is what we have to do a project. This is what we have. This is an administrative, I appreciate your questions, and we can address this even offline. We have talked about this. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add as our attorney on this. I think Jeff has done a good job explaining this. This is an action. to
Understand,
get the
I'm
money.
not a grant writing expert. I couldn't prepare a grant application if you told me to. My understanding, though, is this was a there's a bunch of grants out there in the grant universe. And these guys put together a project that might hit all those grants. I mean, now I'm making this up because I really don't know. Hit all of those grants. And we got one of them that's specifically for canal improvements. That's the one we got out of this whole universe. And I think they used a generic Shane Place improvements. That's my understanding of how they did all. That's how, I mean,
Yeah.
because there couldn't be, you wouldn't have the money to design a project. This municipality would not have the money to design an entire project. So they are spitballing and seeing what sticks with the legislature. That's my understanding. It came back with one grant, 300,000 canal improvements.
Yeah, Bob, thank
Why
you.
don't you just add, to take care of this and solve this whole problem tonight, approve the resolution, and then just add conditions, a commitment of the board to address the concerns that the other trustees have made up, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, which we would do anyway. Of course, we always want to address concerns and any additional concerns. Yes,
I
Dorothea.
have comments from the.
Okay, and then we're bringing it right back to the board because this has to be closed
Our
out.
Pier 70 State Street, if the canal path was stabilized by the New York State Canal Corp. And covered the cost, then $300,000 would and can only be spent by the specific limited development of the canal path presents in the grant application. No other improvements beyond those limits, correct? Suggested specifically calling out stating the name and date of the grant plan drawing that which is being discussed so the record is clear. Was there not a sketch of defined work scope submitted with the application? This should be attached to the board's resolution. The board should be able to locate and reference the plan which shows the limits which they're discussed at the board meeting tonight. Is not the Canal Corp responsible for permanent stabilization beyond their recent past temporary stabilization measures? Why is the municipality/residents responsible for maintaining Canal Corp properties? Okay, Jason Cernis.
Oh, okay, but a lot of that's been asked and answered and it's been part of the discussion, so I think it's on the record already.
Jason Cernis, don't have his address. It's very important to continue forward with this grant. The canal is falling behind when it comes to its appeal and attraction due to the crumbling walkway, derelict fuel pump bump out, which could be used as a viewing platform for fishing platform, etc. There is a delicate balance that can be found to achieve all the needs that Shane Place is desperately requiring to maintain its allure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so,
Address? You didn't say the address?
You didn't provide.
okay,
Well, we need that.
I understand that I did request it.
okay, it's requested, it'll be on the record. Okay, so we've had a discussion, it's back to the board, we have a resolution. I think we have talked through it, that, we don't have to use a dime. This is administrative. They have very generously, actually, we had the fire, so it's extended the deadline. This was our meeting coming up, the whole thing. Is there a motion?
I just, with this application, it says that it needs a boundary map.
Correct.
We already have that.
Do we have a boundary map?
I'll be working with all the parties involved to get them all the pieces that they require. Right now, I have to do step one. If you guys didn't approve this, there's no point in me getting everything else.
Yeah, if you don't want to even bother using the money at all, if you want to turn down $300,000 in grant funding for a capital improvement for our community, that's where we are.
I assume there's a map that is available to me that
Yeah.
was submitted. I'll reach out and pull all these
They have-
docs
they have the
together.
map.
Some of it was just simple
Yeah.
paperwork that has to
Scott
be
Harder
signed.
helped with that, actually,
Yeah.
in early days on this.
So does this resolution presume that all of these list of 8 materials are going to be submitted without the review of the board? Or is that going to come back in front of the board? For example, the opinion of municipal council, which I would like to see before it's submitted to the state. Will that be submitted back to the board so we can review it and vote on it before it's submitted as the
The
final?
board has never asked to see such documents. They're just basic,
Your supporting materials, just,
like, they're just, some of these documents.
The resolution isn't based on that. I think that.
The resolution is just the starting. I mean,
Additional documents they need as part of the
municipal,
acceptance. It's not
it's.
not a condition.
Seeker will have to come back to the board. The sexual prevention workplace policy you already have it in place. That's just me signing off. A signed non-discriminant, again, you already have that in place. A lot of these documents are just simple, me saying we don't do business with Russia. I mean, to bring all this back to the board is a waste of, your time's valuable. I mean, the seeker, yes, absolutely, that's a board option. The opinion of the municipal council, I think Jeff's done it on other grants, I think it's just that. The deed I have to locate, I think that's something with the Canal Corp lease.
I agree. I just, that many of those items are ministerial. I think that something like the opinion of municipal council is something that I would like to see, especially given the nuances that we've discussed with the discrepancy between the application and what we're doing.
Well, why don't we get the resolution taken care of and you can get all the information?
Yeah, I've already passed that doc to Jeff, I can send it out to the board. I mean,
Sure,
I'll be happy to submit all the documents
Sure.
required
let's do
to
it.
the board, and you can look at them
Absolutely.
before I submit them.
Okay, I don't feel like I have enough information to.
Okay.
I can't imagine me doing a letter, an opinion letter that I wouldn't share with the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty
It's
standard.
my-
Yeah, I mean, just some of it's basic.
My practice is a matter of course.
Okay, so we,
But it would not be subject to vote because it's an opinion letter of council. And they don't want to know that the trustees are happy with it or approve it. They want to know that I do
mhm,
as counsel for the village.
thank you, okay, that's helpful. That's helpful.
What does the board feel about adding a condition to this resolution this evening regarding what we discussed just a few minutes ago?
I believe that your motion could contain any condition you want, but I would not modify this resolution to add conditions to it.
Okay,
So the motion will have the conditions on it.
Whatever conditions it is that you feel appropriate, if you feel they are appropriate.
Okay.
I would not modify this resolution or do anything that indicates, if you want the money.
Mhm.
If you don't.
Even if you don't want the money, why would you turn it down right now? I mean, at least
Let me
keep
finish
it in the
what I was gonna
hopper.
say. If you want to put having the money at risk, then you would add a condition to the resolution. Because then it's not an acceptance, it's going to be a conditional acceptance. If they don't accept the condition, they don't get the money. So don't put it, that's my point. Do whatever you want, obviously, because I don't sit
So
in
we're
those
going to tell the
chairs.
state that we're putting conditions on their resolution.
Well, I mean,
No, he said do it in the motion, not the.
my
okay.
suggestion is,
Mhm,
you still may get the money, they may say, okay, we'll meet your conditions, but
mhm.
you don't have a certainty of getting the money if you put conditions in the resolution. You could put conditions in your motion approving the resolution.
okay.
And what conditions do we want to put in them?
Oh, I don't know how to phrase it, as we discussed, that the money was for canal improvements as previously agreed upon by the board, and not the plan that has,
It's-
That's our-
and as long as that's understood
That's,
and it's stated, then I'm comfortable.
that's actually a precondition
For the money.
of the grant. You're accepting the grant which says it will be for canal improvements.
Canal path improvements, it says it. That's,
Okay,
they have identified that back to us.
I mean, if you felt better about it, you could
Can you read what it
recite
says?
that fact in the motion.
Well, we heard two things, for canalway improvements and a condition to assure the public that there will be a public planning process.
And that's something we voted on the first time around. That's
But putting
actually
it in the
been
motion
voted
is what
on.
I hear
But we can put
everyone-
it in the motion, sure,
It would
We
give
all want
everyone
that.
some reassurance.
absolutely.
You really couldn't possibly do any of this without public input.
Right.
Right, that's the whole
Right.
point of it.
I mean,
Okay, so it would
public
be,
planning is different than public input.
Right, okay, public planning maybe is what the term is.
so if we're understanding this then, the motion would be to accept, how would we phrase this, Jeff? I'm going to ask you to help us phrase this so we get it the way we
yes.
want to move it forward.
The motion would be to approve the resolution as presented. With the board's understanding that, I'm sorry, help me out.
These are for canalway improvements.
The monies, any monies used will be for canal improvements only, and that there will be substantial public planning involved in developing any plan which utilizes any money from these grants.
And public input. And public.
He said public input's already.
In there, it's already in there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
said public, I said
He said
substantial
public
public
planning.
planning.
Public planning, okay.
Yeah, he
Okay,
changed
okay.
it from, he said
To public
input.
planning,
Yeah, yeah.
gotcha, okay,
Input is already part of our process, but planning is
okay.
what we want.
So is that, lay it out in terms of what?
Lay it out.
Okay, so we have the motion,
Do we have to repeat that, or can I so move it?
So moved.
Okay, so move it.
Because I couldn't repeat.
okay, so,
He's got it.
so we have so moved, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Lightgev.
No.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye,
Motion passes.
okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna move it forward here. All right, thanks, everybody. Okay, next up, the bid results on the 75 Monroe Avenue project. Is Scott on?
Yes, he is. I'm promoting him right now.
Okay, Scott's getting a promotion.
I have a question that maybe might want to be answered before we get into what he has to present to us. And that is the letter that came to us today, I think, or yesterday, in email that was from Mindy Zoglin. And it was the first time I had seen it, so I apologize if it was there and I did not read it previously, because it says, I write to bring you and the Village Board of Trustees up to date on the status of the West Fork Crossing site plan review. And then it goes on to list those. And I wanted to know, didn't the board want to have a discussion regarding this list and our response to it before we move forward with an RFQ for the 75 Monroe site plan?
Scott has seen that letter. Scott, are you on?
May I ask who has seen that letter? Because it looks like it might have been sent around 3rd of February, and I never get a copy until.
I just assumed that it was
recently.
sent to all of you guys because it was
No.
copied to you guys. So,
For-
but Scott has it, and also our attorney.
I also did ask our attorney, and I have not,
Yeah.
with their attorney Spitzer, and I have not heard back, so I have unanswered questions on that as well.
Okay, I guess he's traveling, I don't know. So is Scott on?
Scott is on.
Oh, hi, Scott, how you doing?
I did receive an email from Mindy, and it agreed with the information that was provided to me by the engineer for the developer on items that need to be satisfied as part of the review that I'm doing. So I received the developer's plans recently, and the action tonight is to basically approve the use of me and the use of Barrow, who is co-consulting with Bergman, to provide these services to address those issues and any other issues that may emerge during the course of the project.
So are you stating, Scott, that all of these issues that were listed in the letter from Mindy Zoglin dated on February 3rd have been addressed, that the concerns of the Planning and Zoning Board have been addressed?
Those are items that I will be looking at and reviewing in the plans that were provided to me, but the action tonight has to essentially enable me and Barrow to do our jobs. We provided input to the board in terms of the fees associated with the work that includes what you're looking for. If they submitted plans to me that don't address the issues that Mindy cited, I will certainly flag that and make sure that they are taken care of.
Sure, Justin.
With all due respect to our engineer, and, you know, I would like to have him proceed with his job here, but I would really feel more comfortable waiting for our attorney, Dan Spitzer, to answer my questions about whether certain conditions have been fulfilled. It's a legal question, not an engineering one. And I wouldn't feel comfortable going ahead with these things if we're lacking basic
Dan?
pieces like
I don't.
LWRP determination of consistency.
Dan has been sent a link. He's traveling. Let's see if we can get him on. Scott, why don't you speak to the roles that you play regarding to addressing the issues outlined in the letter?
Well, what I do is I go through the plans as I've done before and just basically examine all the items that are graphically shown and also in the engineer's report. And I compare those with what I know are good practices and what needs to be covered. And also I compare those with items such as Mindy's email and other information that's been provided to me via the village and the other consultant, T.Y. Lin, who was involved in the review. So I look and process all that information to be certain that the plans that are provided to me comply with those conditions. And if they do, then I say so. And if they don't, I say they don't. That's pretty much it as a starting point. The rest of the hours that have been presented there reflect needs that occur when the project goes to construction, and the various meetings, such as a pre-construction meeting that will need to take place, examination of easements, periodic site visits. Those are the things that we typically do in my field of work. Likewise, Barrow has responsibilities associated with the architecture, code reviews, compliance with the architectural design. That is what I believe is before you. If there's a legal question about something, Justin is correct. I'm not going to answer something from a legal perspective, but I can tell you that's the convention of what we do and what we've done.
So are you working in conjunction with Ty Lin, or does it take Ty Lin out of the equation?
I don't believe that T.Y. Lin is involved in this aspect of the project.
No, the engineering component is we're voting on tonight to enable Scott Harder as the engineer, as per our discussions in the past. I just want to say just really quickly, this I thought went to all of you. I just thought it all went to all of you. So anyway, and
Okay.
so this was sent out.
So I guess we have it now, so,
Yeah.
which means now we have questions that we couldn't have answered
okay,
before.
but so many things in that letter, as Scott is saying, can be addressed either with, Bureau, Bergman, Harder, the legal questions, of course, by our attorney representing us in this matter.
Mhm.
He's traveling right now. We got in touch with him earlier today. He's going to try to come on. He has the link. We just don't, we're trying. People travel. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Perhaps one possible way forward, I noticed that somebody from the applicant side may be here. If we could have any comments about the specific applications in front of us, perhaps we could even defer voting until we've had advice from our council at our next budget meeting, which is early next week.
I can tell you, just very quickly before you start, hang on one second, Chris. I'm just looking up a correspondence when we sent Dan Spitzer the link and reviewing the items before us tonight. He basically indicated, he said he sees no reason why the RFPs wouldn't be approved tonight.
Okay.
Because
we didn't see that. So-
No, he just sent it to me just right after we sent him the link. This is just before the
Yeah, that would
meeting.
help.
Could we see that email then too?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now, of course, yeah. It's been a little busy here, if you can imagine.
Alternatively,
Yeah.
I
a little
want to
bit
hold this up.
busy,
We can
yeah.
vote on this next Monday or whenever we can.
Okay, but let's hear from Attorney Nadler.
Well, and I would just pray that, if you can find that email from Attorney Spitzer, I think that would be
Yeah.
helpful. I haven't seen Mindy's letter. I heard about Mindy's letter, and I called Mindy. And I said, hey, well, you know, what's going on?
I shouldn't send it to you.
I didn't get copied on it. And what she and I sort of agreed had happened, nobody told the planning board, you know, they aren't part of the technical review process. That's a village staff function, includes staff, meaning including consultants and attorneys and engineers. And we have been busy preparing our plans. We've submitted our site plan to the village and, you know, been working as hard as we can to get a consultant approved by this board. And the village planning board didn't know that. So I think what happened is they got concerned, like, wait a minute, we approved the site plan in October with these, I think there's 5 or 6 conditions. And we haven't heard word one. And asked T.Y. Lin, why are you working on this? No, we haven't received anything. That's because this board had already made the decision, you know, to use your already hired village engineer. We're on track. All of the conditions of site plan approval, the way I split it up in my head is condition 1 is address all of the items in T.Y. Lin's report. And there's like 25 of them. That's just a ballpark. It's literal. It's a list of 25 things. Check the stormwater calculations. You know, verify that the Department of Transportation is okay with a curb cut in that location. You know, submit your lighting footprints, the foot candles, how far your site lighting will go. And that's an engineering function. And T.Y. Lin made a list of 25 items. Acting Chairman Marshall went through each and every single one of them. Said, can you guys do that? And was that something you can submit? And everyone agreed that was an engineering review, as it is in any municipality. And I'm sure Attorney Spitzer would tell you that. And I'm sure Attorney Turner would tell you that. We've submitted everything that Scott Harder needs to go through that list. And it's, you know, each one is about a paragraph, but he'll be able to put his initials next to each one and say, applicant completed this task, applicant completed this task. The remainder of the planning board site plan approval conditions related to, they have to get an LWRP determination of consistency. I can tell you, as an attorney licensed in the state of New York, we got none. People who are better equipped to tell you that, or at least have you trust it, are the village clerk, who has certified record of that LWRP determination of consistency, or Attorney Turner, who was there when it was issued. One of the other conditions was obtain a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Board. I'll tell you right now, we got it. Dorothea can tell you, and you know, that's the sole source of proof, is if Dorothea says we got it. That's the only way you'll know. Attorney Turner can tell you that as well, because he was there when we got it. Now I'm blanking on the other conditions. I think that was pretty much it. Everything is going to be addressed either with Attorney Turner, or excuse me, Engineer Harder or Barrow and Bergman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that answer? I can answer, I can go on.
No, I think that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, they did convey to Mindy where we're at, and it's for her to convey to the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, Dorothea.
I have it on my phone.
Yeah.
From Dan earlier, because he was talking to the consultants, going over details of the proposals. And he said, thank you, I see no reason the board cannot approve tonight. I mean, you're welcome to take my phone.
Yeah, he can take a look, just so he has verification.
It was just making sure he reviewed their proposals.
Okay. My question also would be, was a response sent to Mindy? I'm using it the same as casually, the planning and zoning board attorney.
No, that's okay.
And is the planning and zoning board comfortable with the day we receive a response? They sent us, and they are asking for a response. Did we send one? They took the time to write to us.
I didn't send them a response.
There hasn't been a response, but I think what Scott is trying to say, if we approve using the engineer and the architectural oversight firm along with Bergman for the code compliance, we would be able to get this information from them to help respond. Am I correct in that, Scott?
Yes.
They would be enabled to do so. Right now, we have not approved them to move forward to address some of these questions that have, or, questions that have been asked by their attorney.
Okay. I want to make certain that, because of the long history we have here with our boards and the interaction with our boards, that they understand that we are respecting their opinion and that they are being heard and that we are responding to their concerns. I thought I discerned that they were working with Thailand and that was their comfort, and they wanted to make certain that that was going forward.
No, we were going forward with our village engineer, Scott
And that's
Carter,
the
as we had
change.
agreed to, which is why we have the RFPs in front of us tonight to enable them
Right.
to respond in this manner.
And
to
that was their
those
concern, I
concerns.
think,
Right,
that
understood.
this board made a decision
Mhm,
regarding, let's call it changing engineers
mhm, mhm.
without them, without
Right, and
consulting.
we certainly have the right to do that, and we had discussed the reasons why it was,
Okay.
why we were proceeding this way.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we bring this to a vote tonight to approve the RFPs.
I apologize,
Yeah,
PZBA, for not conveying that information prior to us taking a vote
mhm,
on giving
Mhm.
Scott, the engineer, the village engineer, the position of overseeing instead of Thailand.
right.
I wish we would have talked it out first with
It
the
actually was a matter of public record and discussed publicly in a meeting, and everybody has access to that as well, so, and I actually think a member of that board attended that meeting that night, so, but here we are, we're here right now,
Yeah.
and so we have, in my mind, very qualified firms to conduct the oversight, and again, I just want to make it clear to the public that this is part of the process of moving this project forward, and the fees that will be accrued for this oversight will be paid by the developer, not by our village. So with that in mind, are there any additional questions for Scott about the agenda or about this item?
I do
Yeah,
have one
Renee?
question for
Sure.
Scott. Scott, I think trustee Lightgib was asking for a little more time. If we were to put it on at our next meeting, which is a budget meeting, what would that do to the process?
Well, I think, based on the communication that I've had with the developer, it sounds like they're getting ready to submit, I think it's March 9th, perhaps,
March 9th, we will have a building plan.
for permitting. So I would say the time is of the essence for us to be able to get the okay from the board tonight so that we can respond to the items that you mentioned, and also to process, or be ready to process that permit when it comes in at that particular time and date. I guess the question I would ask is, what is the benefit to putting this off?
Yeah, sure, Justin.
I guess, so the next meeting is on the 28th. We're talking about Tuesday at 4 o'clock, is it?
Yeah, the budget meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah, just so
You know-
you know, Scott, it's not like our next regular meeting, I don't know if you caught that, just interject, so it's going to be this coming Tuesday.
Right.
Where we could bring this back, and maybe, Justin, you could get more
Yeah, I
information.
guess, just in full disclosure here, I looked at, I appreciate you sharing the email on your phone. I did start scrolling down. It was part of a broader context, and I didn't want to read a bunch of emails. I
Oh,
didn't
it
have
was
time to-
all, I think it was the RFP, they're going back and forth, making sure all the questions that, the engineer and
Yeah,
So
our
I-
lawyers had.
they were just
I
having an
guess what I'm
internal
saying though is
conversation.
that it wasn't really an answer to the question that I asked to our council, and I would feel better just understanding. I hope this is really a simple miscommunication as we're surmising here, but I would just like to verify that and table the matter until 4 o'clock at our budget meeting on Tuesday.
May I address that?
Sure, of course.
Again, Chris Nadler from General Counsel for Mark IV Enterprises and Pittsburgh Canal Side Properties. It's really not a lot of time delay, and I appreciate that, you realize that. It's a million years for us. We got our planning board site plan approval in October of last year, 7 months ago. And we've been gradually inching closer to getting this night, to getting an architectural consultant and a site plan review engineer signed on board so they can submit our plans. Plans that we submitted to the village over a month ago, that I think Scott, because he's is gonna do the right thing, has already started looking at, and was authorized to be the engineer. That's a decision that this board already made by motion. And majority vote, that Scott Harder is the site review engineer here. This is, the question before the board tonight is requesting to approve his scope of work and hours rate for this project, an hour estimate. It's a one-page document for Scott's thing. There are no legal questions there beyond how long is the village allowed to just put this off? And it sounds like that we're just putting it off for the sake of putting it off. Dan sent an email saying there's no reason not to do this. The mayor's talked to Dan Spitzer about that. The only way to move this forward is to have an architect and an engineer review what we've submitted and say, yes, this is in compliance with the law. With the New York State building codes and all the other laws that apply. Dan Spitzer is not going to be reviewing the plans. He'd be the first one to tell you, I'm not going to do that. He's not capable of it, I'm not capable of it, I don't think Jeff's capable of reviewing site plans and architectural plans for technical accuracy. But this board needs to hire somebody who is qualified to do that. And putting it off just another 3 days, that has drastic impact on the banks we're, getting financing from. Our subcontractors that we have to hire and plan. We need to be able to plan when we're gonna have these contractors show up. Another 3 days isn't fair to us. This has been a request we made in October of last year, 7 months ago. We said, can you guys hire an architect so we can get this done? And now you're asking for another 3 days. And I implore this board, please don't do that. There's no reason to. You've got all the materials right in front of you. You have an email from your attorney saying, yeah, you should do this. And that's my request.
Thank you very much for your input. Yep. Yes, excuse me
A
one
very
second.
simple point of clarification, David Ferris, 27 Loretta. The request is a RFQ for qualifications, but I'm assuming you get proposals back with the cost and fees, and I assume they've seen that. So I would be happy to, I'd be comfortable with those being accepted as proposals to not have another step in the process. The firms that are mentioned, Bergman Associates and Barrow Associates, are highly qualified, respected firms. I feel very comfortable with those firms alongside Scott Harder. Concerns I expressed earlier, prior meetings, those that satisfy me with reputable firms with capability of manpower, and the team of the three would be excellent. So I would support you approving it, and I think what you've heard from Dan Spitzer, he doesn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And I concur with the board's view that they have the authority to make the decision to hire the construction review process. It's not the planning and zoning board, it lies with this board, and you can exercise it. So I would endorse approving it tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for your input. Yes, Dorothea.
Peggy Caraveras, 81 South Main Street. Isn't there another phase of review that TY Lin will be doing for planning board, or will Scott assume that? I think we've answered that.
Asked and answered, yeah.
Can we, to that point, how are we communicating all of this with the planning board? I've heard that there's just a little bit of miscommunication or misunderstanding that maybe we need to.
I think
have
they
a
probably didn't
conversation.
understand the process a little bit.
Okay.
And I think that's also something that their attorney can get back to them.
Okay.
And also, we will make them aware of the action that this board has taken, and we have a liaison to that board. So, I think we can satisfy
Okay.
whatever additional questions that they have. Yep, any other?
No, that's it.
Okay, so it's back to the board here. I think that we should approve this. I think we have all the information before us. We have had, as it has been mentioned previously, our attorney has weighed in and supports this, and is comfortable with the approval. And I think we have really well-qualified firms that will work in the best interest of the village and getting this project done and moving it forward with the proper oversight required. So, yes.
I just wanted to respond briefly. I do understand the time is of the essence with this approval, and I also have confidence in the firms that have responded. The problem here is partially ours. This letter was sent by the attorney for the PZBA on February 3rd, and it was not given to this board. It was sent to the clerk and the mayor, and no one sent it to the rest of this board. And so I'm facing not having this information until a couple of days before the meeting, and then asking our counsel, who is unfortunately on vacation, and that's nobody's fault.
Okay, I'm sorry you have a problem with that, but it also went to the PZBA, and I thought it just went to everybody. I honestly did.
I understand.
A lot of moving parts here, and I don't know that what kind of difference this makes. In other words, we have RFPs before us tonight to help us with this project. That's really what we're looking at. If you want to keep pursuing this, I'm happy to do this after the meeting. I think we're trying to conduct business here on behalf of our village. And I make a motion that we approve the RFPs as presented this evening. Is there a second?
A second.
Trustee Stetser?
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair?
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's see. Next up.
Do you want me to keep Scott on for the?
Oh, yeah, Scott, please, yeah, stay on. Next up is the RFQ for the green infrastructure.
Okay.
And thank you for putting this together for us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening. Oops, okay.
I had just a late comment on the subject that you voted on. One of the items that is listed in our RFP for the scope presented to the consultant was to communicate with the affected boards, but until you vote and approved as you did, we technically weren't able to follow that item. So, excuse me, I think no one was trying to avoid communication with the boards. That was one of the things that I outlined was
Uh-oh. We lost.
Oh, did we
Scott.
lose Scott?
No, I think he's still there.
Did he accidentally mute
Accidentally
himself?
Nope, he's not muted. Nope, he froze.
Oh, Scott froze.
Nope,
Well, it's
wait,
icy.
he unmoved.
It's icy out. He froze from the ice.
I see him, he's moving around, and I just lost his picture.
Well,
Wait a minute.
let's-
Are you there, Scott?
Am I there?
Oh, you're here. You're back.
No, you're there.
We were worried that the ice storm got to you.
Okay.
Okay, so keep going. You broke, we lost you for a minute there.
Well, I just wanted to say that as part of the scope that we put in the RFP, we indicated that the consultants should communicate with the boards to make sure that we had continuity of information from that which was done with the boards and TY Lin so that we didn't miss anything.
Thank you. Yep.
So we were not trying to avoid communication, but until we're authorized to do what we're proposing to do, it's premature.
Thank you. I think that's helpful in, clarifying what the process was or is. Okay, so we're back to the RFQ. This is something that has come before the board in several meetings because we have, and they're listed, several sustainability initiatives for our village, and the big one actually for our heating system, our HVAC system, all of that, our street lights. So again, Scott, is there anything you want to elaborate on this? This is pretty straightforward. You know, we had received some templates, I guess,
Right.
of other RFQs. And so you really, thank you for customizing it for our village and for our needs.
Well, that's pretty much what I did. There was a draft or a model
Mhm.
RFQ that was shared with me along with a couple of other communities that had used that. And so I basically took that and I modified it to agree with our template that we use. And that's pretty much it. I understand in going through this that this is a provision whereby you can get someone to work with you and make your facilities energy efficient. And I guess I understand that based on the language, the fee that the consultant would get is based on their ability to achieve the economies that they are specializing in. So it sounds to me, not that I'm an electrical engineer or anything, but it sounds like an interesting way to go.
Yeah, it's based on the cost savings that we would, recognize by implementing some of these initiatives. And there's so many things, as we've said before in meetings, we're small, we kind of need to be nimble. And I think it's a good idea for us to at least look at partnering with firms that can look at all of the peak components of sustainable initiatives that we know that we want to move forward with because we are a climate smart community. And so this can really help us. And they also can help us source grant funding as well. So I think this is at least a good way to go, as we've talked about in the past. Any thoughts on that? Renee? Yeah. And, we've talked about it a number of times, so it's a good thing. Yes.
I just.
Name and address.
Oh, sorry. Robert Corby, 7 Washington. Reading through the template that was in the packet, I had just a couple of concerns. And because we are a historic community, and preservation obviously is a very sustainable practice because it reuses materials rather than builds new. There was language in there about the windows on this, looking at the windows on the building. And I just want to make everybody aware that the windows you have on this building are the highest quality you could possibly get. The interiors are tight. The only way to really improve their efficiency is you could replace the aluminum storms with wooden storms, and then you would have about the most thermally efficient thing on the market. But what's missing in that is sort of the preservation lens. If you're going to look at things like trees, like it says in there, you also need to consider that the village is a historic cultural landscape, and you need a professional that has that expertise so you don't get recommendations that don't make sense in a historic context. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, and I think we're all in agreement on that. Absolutely. Okay.
Should that be added to this RFQ?
Well, I think this is much more of a generic RFQ, and obviously anything that we do always has the template and the overlay of preservation, and that's just the underpinnings of actually every single action pretty much that we take in this village. Scott, do you think that we should put in the preservation component? I mean, I think that's just simply how we move forward. I mean, we're not going to put in vinyl windows, or we're not going to, we know that these things are important and need to be protected and cared for properly. I don't see anything in here that negates preservation in the least. I think it's just always how we view things, always,
I have a response that's sort of like a response I might have offered on the shown place discussion, but I think it takes a project. What you're doing is you're getting the consultant from this, and then the consultant is going to define the project, at which point you're going to entertain comments such as the comment that was just made.
Yeah.
Once again, I think we're premature. I think you need to get the consultants on board and activated so that you can create a project and then examine it.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I don't think it negates anything, and I think, Bob always makes, good comments about that, so it wouldn't be negated. So anyway, I'd entertain a motion to approve the RFQs, and let's see what happens.
The dates I would suggest for receiving the RFQs for a deadline would be 4/4. So it could get in front of the board on 4/13, giving time for everybody to review the qualifications. So I'd say 4/4 at 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's a good window.
Yeah, that gives plenty of time.
Yeah, we can extend it if we find out. that-
Yeah.
Yeah, because, yeah, you're right, that's been a concern too.
Right, we haven't been
So,
getting great responses. Plus, you'll have 2 new people on the board.
mhm.
I don't think that, there will be 2 meetings in at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the RFQ as outlined in our packet.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Just
Oh, yeah,
a
sure.
discussion first.
Sure.
I looked into this a little bit when we first had our engineer draft this RFQ, and my concern is that this is a rather complex program that I read some sources saying it doesn't make sense unless you've got something like 40,000 square feet of space in a building. Part of this is based on, as you mentioned, the savings from the increased energy efficiencies. I have trouble seeing how we're at a scale where we could really make that feasible. There's quite a bit of complexity. We are a climate smart community. Unfortunately, we've even failed to carry through on some of the parts of being a climate smart community. We did the resolution over a year ago, never filed the paperwork, and then had redo the resolution very recently. So, even in some of these very basic kinds of climate smart initiatives, we don't seem to be following through on the steps. So I'm not in favor at this point of issuing this, which might rely on even taking out bonds for the amount of capital outlay for some of these projects. I think there's a lot of complexity. I think that what we should do is table this for right now and consider it in a couple of months when we've got a much better idea of the scope that would be undertaken, and then issue it a few months from now if the new board wants to consider it.
How many times have we brought up the discussion about a new heating system? Roughly. I would say at least 7, but I can, over the last couple of years, certainly. And all the other initiatives that we have talked about. And I think, the human error that happened about, I guess, the way it wasn't filed or something, I think, Steve caught that, whatever it was, human error. It didn't change anything. So, and in fact, we've done enough already to get, in terms of the climate smart grant funding, we already hit the first level. We already got the 5,000, which we can put towards some of these sustainability initiatives. So I'm very comfortable doing this. It doesn't commit us to anything. We can take a look at what's out there. I know other villages have successfully partnered with different firms. And really, and for example, Brockport just had a 34% savings. They're in a little bit of a different situation, but on their lighting, they did a buyback. They bought out all their lights. And they were shocked at how quickly they could recognize, the savings by doing so. So I think, again, it's an RFQ. We see what's out there. We see what we get back. And again, I think it's something that we should explore, and I think it could end up being something really positive for our village and help us move our sustainability initiatives forward. Again, we're not spending a lot of money, we're just putting on an RFQ, and we'll see what comes back.
So the alternative
Yeah.
to Justin's point about us being a small community and these are smaller scale projects, who's doing these initiatives right now? Is it?
There's villages across the state.
No, I'm
What?
sorry.
For here,
Yeah, for our
Oh.
village, it would fall on
staff.
staff.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have the resources.
So
this
Steve's been
isn't a
doing a
different-
lot of the climate smart.
He's been trying.
Yeah.
He's been trying to keep up with that and also be fire marshal and also be
Right.
code enforcement and building inspector and, So this, I think, is an opportunity because we are a small municipality, hopefully to find a firm that can work with us and support what we want to do without tying up additional staff. So thank you for raising that point. Because I know, Zach, the lot falls on you guys too. So this is, I think, a way forward, at least to explore this. And get some RFQs in, get some additional
Yeah.
information,
Right, and then we
see
have,
what's out there. Yeah.
So the action of sending out an RFQ does not commit us to anything. We can then subsequently study
Absolutely.
what is to the best, in the best interest of the village, and maybe discuss taking the windows as
Yeah.
one capital project and the heating
Mhm.
HVAC as another.
Sure.
And we may decide to go that direction.
Mhm.
But the RFQ does not commit us to anything. It's
You
just
can,
somebody saying, I'm willing to help you with the process.
Sure.
Is that right?
yeah,
Right.
you get the RFQs in, you look at the proposals you receive. If you don't like any of them, you can say, scratch the whole thing.
Scratch it.
You don't have to accept anything.
Right.
And that's the point, to make a decision.
Right, that's the point, when you make a decision, even if you go with the firm, any project that comes in front of the board, it has to be approved. So you still at that point can say, no.
At
So
any point.
you're not out anything, it's just getting someone in line who may be able to help us.
And really, I think it's getting the information, as you're recognizing, to potentially give us a way forward where, we don't tie up additional resources with staff. If we can find a partner to work with us that understands the specifics of what we want to do,
Yes, and we have had presentations from entities in the past, dentists,
Right,
saying that we can help you with, and it was obviously not a good fit for us.
Mm.
And so we
Yeah.
declined. And it's that sort of process.
what it does is it puts it out to many firms, and then you choose the firm
Yeah.
that you feel is going to represent you in the matter as you see fit.
So there's a motion and a second.
Make sure, nothing, okay.
Okay.
Roll call, trustee Stetser,
aye.
trustee Lanfair,
Aye.
trustee Lickett,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay, we'll get the RFQs out. And thanks so much, Scott, for your help on this.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. We've had you hopping, huh? Yeah, and I think we're all set, unless, Scott, is there anything else you'd like to add for the board this evening?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay,
Thanks, Scott.
all right, thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care now. Okay, so we're up to treasurers.
We have trees.
I thought we.
We did Tree City.
the
Oh, we
update.
did, that's
Yeah.
We did Tree City while we were waiting for the public hearing.
That's right.
Yeah, we did. that.
Remember, we,
Was I in the room?
You were.
we
You
received,
were.
It was about
But-
5 hours ago, so. I-
We'll do a quick recap. There's
we
good news.
received the Tree City designation again.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
We
So-
had it, now we have it again.
Yeah.
We have it again.
Yeah. So we're good. That's what it
We're
was.
back.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay,
Okay.
All right,
so the treasurer's report.
correct.
Jeff, I think we're good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know. So be careful out there on the ice. Yeah. And thank you for your help
Oh,
and
My
your good
pleasure.
input. Okay. All right, so next up.
Ready
treasurer.
for me to go forward? Okay, we have a bill pay submitted to you. Brooklyn did get it out ahead of the packet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooklyn, because as we all know,
That was
it's late
crazy.
this time.
Yeah,
So if there's any questions on the bill pay, or if we can go ahead and approve those.
No questions.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill pay as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Lickett?
Aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we will apologize to the board due to circumstances, a little smoke, a little water. You did not get your, wow, it just went right out of my head.
Minutes?
Fine.
No,
I
no, we got
I got
minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Did someone else have?
That's right, we can,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
The bank recs.
Oh, that's right.
Started
yeah.
them today, you'll have them next meeting. I am trying to keep those right up to date, just because of what happened. I lost some time. But anyway, moving on, we have the back entrance. This is addendum 1 for the back entrance bid, which is due next week. We do have interested bidders, so we're very excited. I've had multiple contractors out, so I feel we will be moving forward with this. This is just, addendum is related to the back entrance with the shoring of the project. The way they have to do it, they might end up going into the fire department's land, and we're working with the fire department. We'll bring it back to what it is.
Okay.
We just want to let all the contractors know, we'll make that, I'll get that approval with the fire department. The mayor will be meeting with them, and it's the easiest way is to go that way. Because if they go another way, it's going to be more expensive for us, and we really don't want to do that. So we want to keep this project within the grant scope.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just need approval of this addendum.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
I'm very excited to see this getting down to fruition.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
all right, sales tax. So we got our third quarter in, and we are doing fabulous. We only need 130, well, for our third payment, I should say, for the
Okay.
year. Yeah, their quarters don't line up with
I
my
know,
numbers.
that's true.
It's our third payment. We're like 130,000 off for our year assessment that we thought, so our numbers are coming in as anticipated. So it's all good news with that. So I just wanted to let the board know.
People are spending.
Keep spending.
Yeah.
I like it. So that's all good news. And that's all I have for that part.
Okay,
Is there any questions or any concerns on anything else? And like I said, I'll try to get those bank recs to you soon.
okay. All right, next up, minutes.
Minutes, I received some changes from trustee Lightgev. Thank you. Megan's been wonderful. She's been typing the minutes, which I love. A couple of minor misses I missed, so I'll get those corrected. They were-
Yeah, one of them was the 26th. I do believe I was here.
Lily, I know you. Once you're here to the end, so make sure you're there.
Yeah, I didn't abstain.
You didn't abstain.
I
You were
didn't
here.
abstain. Okay,
I'll double check that and get it corrected.
thank you.
Okay, so we're looking at the first set, which is,
January 26th,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 26th minutes, whatever, minutes
you knew what you mean.
as corrected.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Lanfair?
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev?
Aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion passes. And the next one is the regular meeting minutes, not the budget, for February 9th.
It's gone.
Were they amended?
I think there was a minor amendment.
Okay.
It was-
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes for February 9th as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Stetser?
I abstained, I wasn't here.
Yes,
You were
she doesn't
abstaining?
have, yeah.
Oh, no.
It says chickens.
Okay, trustee Lightgev?
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, member items this evening? Anybody have member items?
I had a couple questions. Is Zach going to do any, is Zach still around? I had a couple questions, and I discovered it in the minutes. Maybe,
Dorothea, can you see if Zach's still here, please? I'm sorry.
Zach? Should have ran in here.
I know, boy, you
yeah,
should have
well, that
left.
question, you might know the answers, but.
Well, no,
Okay.
he's here, so.
He's here.
Zach, I had two questions. The sign, I think it's on Bob Street, is that there until they're done with construction? It has to stay there until they're done? And when will they be done?
I think the proposed date of completion is April 30th.
Okay, okay,
No, I'm sorry, March 30th.
okay.
April 1st.
And then the
Yeah.
other, is there any headway on the lights on the bridge, on the State Street Bridge? One of them's still out.
We've called those into RG&E 15 times now. They finally sorted out the arc lighting on South Main Street
Yeah,
and the North Main Street Bridge. We got those re-energized, the same with the wall pack underneath the bridge. We finally got a meter set up on that. Now we're just waiting for them to come through and do the other repairs that we've called them a lot. So,
they're chipping away at it, though.
yes.
Finally.
slowly, they're getting there. And this storm really isn't helping anything out right now because, you know, I'm sure
Taking
Ferguson's
stuff out.
gonna be tied up doing all kinds of work for the next 3 weeks making these repairs. So, every month we go out, we do an assessment of the outages, and we report it to RG&E and follow up with them throughout the month and hopes that something gets done.
Okay, sweet, and
So
one more.
best I can do.
One more question. I texted about this, and I think you met with DOT about the signs that are gonna block the clock. Are they gonna move those or what?
I have not been able to reach out to Kevin yet.
Okay.
It's on the list, though.
Yeah,
to
so I
follow
saw it on the
back.
whiteboard, I think that's
Yeah.
where it was, okay,
Yeah.
so I know it's on the radar.
It's on the list.
Okay, is that an easy,
Tomorrow,
we expect that to be a big deal, or are they pretty?
I'm sure it's gonna be a fight to get in.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
so we just have to
But we're
build
gonna
a
keep on them.
clock
You
tower.
make it clap.
I
Yeah,
know, giant pedestal.
okay. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, it's,
Thank you.
we're chipping away with them, we really are.
You just remove the sign every once in a while.
You know, and just, because there was a tree that came down on Lincoln
Oh,
that hit
yeah.
the power lines.
That tree has been cleaned up.
Okay,
The power lines have been cleaned up, although on the way here, I drove through there and I did see 8 RG&E vehicles, including bucket trucks. And
So they're really-
trucks sitting on Sutherland. Not sure what they're staged for, they may have to run a new light over there. But then the other issue is Spectrum and Frontier waiting for them to come through because now their wires are hanging down about 5 feet off the road or so. So we've got to call out to them. There's a work order that was issued and it's just waiting on them. to come
okay, so
through.
we're,
They are less responsive than RG&E. Yeah.
that's saying something, isn't it?
Is that in Washington? I'm linking between Washington and South Main. And then another tree just came down over Green Hill too, so.
Oh, boy.
Oh, really?
Where?
A Green Hill.
So
Green
it's
Hill just came down.
still frizzling out there.
Yes, it is drizzling.
It's frozen.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the weather's really an issue because I think the alert now goes all the way into
Yeah,
Saturday.
it does.
Yeah, they
It's
keep
not
extending
good for our
it.
trees, man.
Yeah,
So
So,
heavy.
this is supposed to carry on through the night with the freezing rain and the temperatures are supposed to get colder through Saturday. So
yeah,
And the wind, they said the wind was going to
It's been
exacerbate.
Right.
huge back there. That's
Yeah.
not good.
yeah, and we put out a
Not
post,
agreed.
Zach really reminded us, we put out a post, and we should probably say something tonight. Everybody be careful on the ice. You have been working so diligently, clearing
Yes.
everything, but it keeps refreezing so quickly.
Yeah, the salt eats a hole through the ice and all it does is make like a perforated ice, but the slick is still there because the ice isn't melting away and running away.
Yeah,
So thick.
So,
yeah,
Yeah,
no
just-
runoff with it, unfortunately, it's just, be careful.
yeah, yeah.
The
we-
sidewalks, we can only do so much, we tried plowing them again, but it's frozen ice. Outside of going out with the bucket on a skid steer and taking
Yikes.
3 days to try to
Yeah.
grind it up, and it's not easy, and it's,
We need some sun.
Yeah.
just be careful,
Warm.
wear appropriate footwear.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Wear your cleats.
As they say, there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong outfit.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Any other?
No, sorry,
You're good?
thank you,
No, you're
Zach,
good?
for my
Okay.
laundry list.
I'll keep you posted
No.
on this.
Nope, whoops, excuse me one sec. Okay, hang on a sec. So we're all good up here. Yeah, Bob.
We just wanted to address the board from the Friends of the Arboretum, if we could. Met earlier this week and had a couple very minor requests that were, now that we're approaching spring, that we wanted to start, Jim.
Yeah, I'm Jim White, 11 East Jefferson Circle, and good evening. The Friends of the Arboretum are looking forward to the work of the tree removal that you approved recently in the Arboretum.
Thank you.
And we do pledge your support to come in behind that work being done, because next spring, once it's gone, sure enough, it's going to start to sprout up again, so we'll be happy to chase down.
So in other words, when your contractor removes the rows of ailanthus, we would volunteer to go in and any little sprouts that we see coming up, remove them, so we really eradicate it.
Yeah, and you know what, it's the only way to go, but we're years out on it, I mean, it's just trying to keep at it.
Right.
Yeah, it's so invasive.
So we'll be there as needed. We're also asking for that continued support in the areas last fall where our weeding parties left piles of materials that were cleared. And that would include the previously identified pile of spoilage or some gravel that's in the meadow area.
Let me clarify that. When we were clearing mugwort in our last weeding party, we found another gravel pile that's kind of.
Keystone?
Yeah, and if we could get that out of there, we can.
Okay, we'll take a look, okay,
And
thanks.
we're bringing it up now because we know how busy it gets in April. And hopefully we'll have a weather window where the work can be done.
Plus, we can avoid some of the other regeneration of the materials that have already been removed. 2023, obviously, we're already well into it and want to see further some of the development of the ideas on the meadow area and bringing on board, hopefully, the qualified consultant through the Seneca Zoo or connected with them to help identify what programs should be done and the proper process to bring that to the next stage. So we'd like to find a way to get that in.
What we'd like to do, and we've talked to Dave Weil at the Seneca Park Zoo Society, is orchestrate a pollinator overseeding for the meadow. Before we go ahead and try to set that up, we think it's something we could do to help the village out. But before we spend the time on it, we want to make sure that you're okay with that and that you support that. Okay, great.
All right, and I think
Yeah,
the other,
It's all good stuff. I mean, this is the good stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
we're checking in first.
No, and that's great.
We're just
That's,
trying to
we all want the
communicate.
same thing, and it's
Right.
nice that we're
Yeah.
working together.
Yep.
So we appreciate that.
and then also to be getting into hopefully this year would be the planting of some additional trees into the arboretum, and we'd be happy to work with you in terms of placement on that, and once planted, getting involved in doing the weeding,
We'll take care of it for you.
labeling them, putting the cages around them, as I know had been done in the past, so that I think is some of the key things.
I want to add too, and I can give you the contact information for PRISM. They can really help with a sort of a longer-term plan for invasive removal, like over time, the stages of it. They're part of DEC, they work with the DEC, and they're really great at helping communities set up, that's what they're charged to do.
There's also a new program at Sonnenberg where the state has orchestrated in the nursery there of starting a native tree planting program there.
Yep.
And there's also work happening in Ganondagan because they're trying to do the same thing, eradicate invasives and plant natives, so.
A lot going on.
We're part of a trend.
Yeah, no, it's a lot going on, it's great. Great.
Okay, well, thank you. We look forward to working with you in
Everything.
2023.
Do you have everything?
Thank you.
Can you just send us what you just read to us?
Yes.
Just so we have our list too?
I'll send an email.
Okay, send it up to Dorothy.
Great.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you so
I
much.
took notes, but I don't know how to spell it.
5:30.
I took notes, but I don't know how to spell
Yeah,
it.
it's been a long
Oh,
day.
yeah, that's right. We have
Thank
it.
you,
All
everyone.
right, take care, everybody, have a good night. Okay, yeah,
I have public comment.
okay.
Okay, we received an email from Frank Kramer. I passed this on to the board. Thank you, Dorothy, and please read the following statement out loud. At the meeting, I'm concerned about the rush to pass important decisions like asking for commuter tax rates to be given to 75 and more project, and even the board's approval to the builders for that project to proceed. There is no need to rush on these very important decisions and their consequences. Villagers need to know in advance when the board votes will be taken and not what. They need the opportunity to comment in person, by email, or online, and there should be a time at future board meetings to debate and discuss the issues of the board when all the board is present. Please end this rush to get as many things passed as possible within the next month. You're determining the future for all village residents, and we need to know what is proposed, and we need time to react. Thank you, Frank Kramer.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then I have an online.
Okay,
Our Pier 70 State Street, able to provide a brief for the public residents on the board's vote on committee letter for 75 Monroe, including the vote and any analysis which was reviewed by the board in making a decision. It is important to the residents how much in tax revenue that may be lost if the application is approved by committee. A specific response would be appreciated by self and village residents. Thank you.
a lot of that was asked and answered in previous meetings, and the letter was actually revised that was approved that left out any relief for the restaurant portion. The only thing that was supported was the residential component, which is really what Comida is all about. And frankly, our letter wouldn't probably have weigh in too much anyway, because they're probably going to get it. I think Dan Spitzer said it was 99% sure that they would get the abatement anyway from Comida, regardless of support or not. So, I mean, that's where we are. And It's been discussed actually for years, you know, in front of the board. Any other comments?
Possible for a brief for, possible for a brief for residents who have not attended the last meeting.
You could, well, you can just go online and look at the meeting. I mean, it's been posted,
Yes, I
for
believe I
sure.
can post that.
Yeah. You know, and Art, if you have any, you know, really specific questions, just reach out to us if you take a look at the meeting, but I think a lot of the stuff is answered. So don't hesitate to contact us at Village Hall if you have, you know, additional specifics. So with that being said, and there's no more member items or any other comments, okay. I make a motion to adjourn, is there a second? Oh, Zach? Oh,
Executive.
that's right. I make a motion, you're right. I make a motion, we go into executive session for the purposes of discussing an employee.
I'll second.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, folks. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Turning off the recording.
We're pausing. Just
We're pausing.
We're pausing.
My question, very simply, it didn't really answer.
Give us 1 second, please. She'll let you
The
know.
Speaker's still on.
Yeah, she'll let you know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back.
You ready?
Sure.
Make a motion, we leave executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I make a motion, we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Lightgev.
Aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Aye.
Trustee Stetser.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer. Motion passes.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Zach, too, for staying in.